Okay, g'day. Hi Lynn, how's it going? It feels weird, but because I previous New Year's haven't been the greatest for me, but I'm going to say Happy New Year for a change, because I wish everybody happiness and joy and strength and safety for the year to come. We'll get straight into it. You're listening to the Forbidden History Chronicles, here with NinjaCat 111 and Dezert-Owl from the Forbidden History series YouTube channel. And I'll just read this introduction that Desert has written. The Signs of the Times. In essence, Desert discusses the history of the world and how the unseen hand has been running it from the very beginning of time, who they are and how they have founded all of the first great civilizations that are found all around the world, about who the giants really were and the ancient Aryan caste and slave systems, the priesthoods, the anti-gravity V-manners, the earth-based misnomered UFOs which are man-made. Ninja, get off the keyboard please. Thank you. Seriously. Sorry, little issue with the cat. Where were we? The anti-gravity V-manners, earth-based misnomer UFOs which are man-made, the control of all forms of communications, commerce, religion, mass media, pseudo-politics, etc. It is the grand deception that is used to control all of mankind, and all instituted through the three main religions of the world in particular, used as their grand cover. Their cyber code has been revealed to him because he has become adept within the study of the ancient alphabets, communications, symbolism, religion, custom, law, cosmology and mythology, not to mention the fallacy of today's political science and pseudoscience in particular. Desert can also define the true nature of their warfare, their shell game of bringing one civilization up for their temporary use and then taking it down for the next 500-year generational cycle, as symbolized by the classical phoenix. He discusses the ultimate in mind control and ancient art and the financial control, the secret societies and their blood occult rituals, and how they wage all wars throughout all time through the nations that they have created, which are all imaginations, plantations, and mere corporations. They have taken blood oaths to surrender their self-will and mind to their blind goddess who has demanded our blood from the very beginning of time. They communicate to their minions through the movies, TV and print media, while he can see, read and interpret most all of it. It all says that they are using us for our ingenuity, for our collective constructive labour, for experimentation, and in the end they intend to kill us all. They have given us full notice of what they are doing and what they fully intend to do, while all of the general population, the sheeple, they merely go there to be entertained. The New World Order is the Old World Order from the beginning of time. There is a major cosmic natural disaster that is about to happen on Earth, and they know it. But they are cleverly leaving us in the dark, hence the reason that they have built hundreds of underground bases all around the world, while they are leaving all of the people to remain unprepared, uninformed and above ground, so that when it comes, the mere 5% who will survive above ground will die from the weaknesses and disease that has been generated from all of the poisons that they have been feeding us, from the chemtrails to fluoride in the water, to tainted vaccines, to fake food, etc., etc. They have enslaved us all by the clever means of deception, because we, most all, are their cattle, chattel, property, and because they merely wanted to harness our labour, what they always needed, which is what backs most of the world's currency through the birth certificate. But they are all through with us now. It is written in stone, as it can be seen written in the Georgia Guidestones. To know the truth is to be empowered and to be prepared. We may not be able to stop what has been done and what is about to happen, but the innocent and decent people on planet Earth deserve to know. And that was written by Dezert-Owl. G'day, Desert. How's it going? Happy New Year.
Yeah, New Year, as they say, Ninja, if that's really true or not. Of course, maybe we really don't know what time it is, you know. So,
yeah.
But I want to wish everybody out there the best stuff for the coming year, and I'm not optimistic nor hopeful for a good one. As we saw 2018, it was not a good year for a lot of people, and that the 18 in 2018 is 18 is 3 sixes. That's the number of a star, and so maybe they just started something with their energy weapons, officially with the Paradise genocide program that they committed up there with near 50,000 people, perhaps disintegrated by these ray guns. People just suddenly disappeared. And who's going to be able to tell the story? Who's going to really be able to calculate whether it's true or not? When they control all the media. So it's so the 2019. I was listening to the intro that you're reading, and I think we're somewhere around on symbolism now. I took note of the next what I thought was the next topic, and symbolism might be appropriate for the first of the year, and so 2019, 9 is the number of destruction, 18 was a star where they can get started, and then 9 is a number of destruction. It's an upside down 6. 6 is the number of creation, and 9 turn it upside down. The 6 up into a 9, you get destruction. 10 is judgment. So my friend I've interviewed a few times, Glenn Keeley in Canada, said who also interprets the Shakespearean code and other elements of the code, which I have not had time to delve into. So we on the same page when it comes to reading the code. And he says that when we the reason they tell us when we go to the eye doctor when we have perfect vision, it's 2020, because when we get to 2020, then we'll see things perfectly, and they don't want their occultic friends to forget. So 2020 is the code word. So whatever we're going to see perfectly, will be in full blown. Maybe that'll be the UFO pretend invasion, that they're going to have, where they've already got half the people thinking aliens and space, craft come from outer space. They actually fly their spacecraft right next to the sun, of all things. Can you imagine that we have difficulty in the sun 97 million miles away, but they're claiming people, fly craft right up next to the sun. People have no idea, just like, they're caught up in the flat earth, or they, think the King James Bible is the perfect, unadulterated, pure version of sacred scriptures. They literally cannot process anymore with logic and reason. They will buy into anything they hear, basically. It sounds good. Sounds good to me. Okay, okay, and they start preaching the mantra.
Yeah. You made me think of something that I didn't really notice before just then. Seeing the inconsistencies is a really good way to get through the lies and to the truth. And people are just accepting all these inconsistencies. They're not looking into it. They're just taking everything at face value. And
Sure. Are they gray aliens, pink aliens, polka dots, or blue? I'm not sure, because there's several kinds.
I think the latest one's blue, going by what's been...
coming over here naked, aren't they supposed to put some clothing on? I mean, come on. All this crazy stuff in our face, it's just, it's grand illusion. Socrates, I read the life of Socrates, and he never wrote anything, but he was written about by Plato in particular, and the speeches and everything, and so there's a term that we get from Socrates called Socratic reasoning, and it meant that, and so he was murdered by his friendly government, made to drink the cup of hemlock because he was corrupting the youth, and because he kept teaching them to ask questions, right, to question things. So that's where we get the term Socratic reasoning. Socrates says if you keep putting questions to something, nonstop, keep throwing questions at her. What about this? What about this? What about this? That ultimately you'll get to the truth.
Yeah.
See? So in other words, if it's truth, if it's something that's true, then it will be impenetrable with questioning because it keeps standing tall, keeps standing strong. But if it's filled with holes, then eventually you're gonna see through it because wait a minute, what about this question here? Wait, what about that one? So it's really a simple process, but people don't question. They stopped when we were little. We were, boys and girls, 5 and 3 years old. We kept saying, "Why? Why this?
Yeah.
Why?" And Dad and Mom say, "Come on, all right. I'm going to tell you one more time. Then don't ask me any more questions."
Yeah.
And they shut us off from asking questions and just said, "Whatever I tell you, that's what it is." That's sort of like the priesthood, right?
Yeah. I remember that from my childhood. That sort of behaviour, that's why I started looking up at the sky at such a young age, because I thought I might find answers there. And never dreamed that I'd be where I'm at today. Wow. But yeah, I always turned to the sky because the adults that were supposed to know everything couldn't give me the answers that I wanted, couldn't give me any answers. They kept deflecting my questions. Yeah. So, and I didn't understand. So I started looking up for answers. Yeah. So, that's my history.
Well, that's, in other words, we have to have some type of outlet in our daily existence, and so something will grab our attention, and we'll focus on that, and that's what we do. But the symbolism is everything that they do is based on symbolism, and that's why when after studying ancient history and then getting into the modern being a political activist and with 2 organizations and doing the broadcasting and all that, I realized that because of my background in ancient symbolism and words, I was looking at the political state, and they were shouting with symbols and with code words, and the guy who has the job has the code name. It's really funny how names, what we call names, somehow reflect upon the occupation that we're engaged in, and I like that we had one politician, Ed Meese, and the Mises, reminding me of one of the cartoons with the Mises in it, the mice, and he was the head of the Ways and Means Committee. I like that one. We have ways and we have means, and we'll get you. Don't worry about it. And or the symbolism of the politician kissing the baby, and then after they get elected, they kiss us all off. That's some pretty good symbolism right there.
Oh, you're gonna love the name of our last Prime Minister. I think we've had 5 in as many years lately, but anyway, not the current one, but the last one was called Malcolm Turnbull. Turnbull. Turnbull, yep. And he always walked around with a big cheesy grin on his face, like boastful kind of grin on his face. Yeah.
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 Like, I got mine and you didn't get yours.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was full of bull, right?
He was, very much. Yeah.
So it comes down all the way from the papal bull, you know, that was, I was watching a documentary on the Hittites last night, and they show these ancient jars that preceded the artwork that we see on the Greek vases about 1,000 years ago. So this goes back like, or not 1,000 years ago, but 1,000 BC. But these vases in particular went to like 3,000 BC, give or take, and they showed the artwork on the vase. They showed the jumpers jumping over the bull. You know, so the thing with the bull goes way back, and to Crete, and I can't remember what they called the culture there in Crete at the moment, but you know, they would be washed in blood of the bull. Huh?
Oh, just as in ew.
Yeah, right. Well, that was their form of baptism into occult rituals. They would walk, you know, underneath some area where they poured the blood of the bull on you, and then you were born again. Another type of being born again, but into a cult ritual, washed in the blood. All puts me meaning on being washed in the blood.
So is that why all the celebrities and that do it these days? The same thing. It's they're doing that ritual.
Well, I don't know if they're doing it in modern time in that degree. But the point is that the very first artwork we see on these vases from the Hittite civilization are bulls and people jumping over the bull, because the bull is representative of the force of nature. It's the most powerful animal, next, of course, next to couple others like the lion or the African lion or the elephant. But the bull is a primary symbol because it represented also the letter A in the alphabet as a primary. They turned the A upside down and put a slash through the pyramid, and then when they turn it upside down, it looks like could be representing a bull with horns. That's the A when it's upside down in the code, so nobody gets the picture of this symbol. And so what the bull is been with us from symbolically, and that's why it's called, the papal bull. It comes down from, it's the father's bull. I guess it's a slam, maybe symbolically also of the father, because they call it bull, so the symbolism is all around us. Confucius said that signs and symbols rule the world, not words nor law. The words and law are secondary to symbols. In other words, like when we're watching certain news channels we see come up, and they're using the orange in the desk or in the artwork of the opening of the program, and there's bright orange, or the guy is wearing a bright orange tie, or like when we see the activists that are against the Islamic takeover of Britain. There's this group of people up there with Jenna and these another polished guy who's really good looking, looks strong, like you don't want to mess with them, and so these very noble looking Jenna and this other guy are at the front of the Take Back Britain movement, and so they're going around to different communities and even over to Ireland and trying to get them to be responsible in their own community and to take note of the destruction of their own culture. So on the surface, of course, it's a noble cause, and one that we would I think would be a logical one when you see the destruction of the threat that Islam poses on the rest of the world. Certainly, it's about as noble of an idea to thwart it and to stop it before more people get their heads chopped off and killed, or acid thrown in their face, as they like to do over there in Britain. For some reason, the Muslims just want to throw acid in strangers' faces and just to have a little fun, and people's lives are ruined and blinded by this type of activity, and then they won't even talk about it on the news because it's politically incorrect to mention that it wasn't Islam that committed the crime against the citizens of England. But in spite of that, because the occult societies always control all issues and all sides, then when you see them in their YouTube presentations when they're going over and they're doing their promotional thing, then all of a sudden you see them wearing bright orange shirts and he's wearing a bright orange tie, and so they're telling you that they're part of it's a Freemasonic control that's going on here. So even though there's the aura of benevolence behind it, or true patriotism, yet as Albert Pike said in Morals and Dogma in the late 1800s, the Grand Poobah of Freemasonry here in America wrote the book Morals and Dogma, that they control all issues, they wage all revolutions, they are the controllers of the world, they are the builders and the destroyers. They love the party, the party is theirs, but they're just agents of the Vatican, and they're under the Jesuits are at the top of Freemasonry, then the Jewish banking Kabbalistic front is next, and then under that are all the Aryan puppets and pawns, and then below there are the African people that joined that are too stupid to know the history of Freemasonry, that they were the ones who formed the Klan here in America in the 1800s after the Civil War to keep up black people under the thumb of the Aryan culture for as long as possible, at least. Of course, now with the new time we're in, they now promote the a flip flop on cultural domination. Now the black is oppressing the white. It's a reverse on it now, and it's promoted, of course, again by the Jesse Jackson's they call him Reverend Jesse Jackson, and they get everybody thinking, well, he's religious, so he's got to be good guy, and but they never question who these Al Sharptons are. The guy who put his finger in an electrical socket and his hair is frizzed up all black and gray. These people that are so pathetic in their rants, but yet they, of course anybody will follow them without questioning them, without any questions. Again, if we don't question everything in front of us, so wise black people, just like wise white people, and I don't like the term black and white, because I think we're all different shades of brown. But again, the symbolism is what captures us. So one guy has dark skin, another one white skin. They identify with that, and therefore they can't get past the skin. They're enslaved by the skin. So the good news is that great people woke up. Like right after the Civil War and slavery movement, we see a black gentleman named Washington. I can't even remember his full name, but he was a philosopher. And he had some of the greatest quotes. That showing that anybody can be an intellectual if they want to be. Nobody is restricted from free thinking. But the problem is the control is so great. People can't think freely. They can't ask questions. They don't know how to ask questions. Somebody somewhere along the way told them to stop.
Yeah. I can see that. I can see how that has happened now. Looking back, I can, it's a slow, gradual, repetitive process. Like everything with this, like with the deception, they use the same technique with everything. And so it's nothing new. And looking back, like the easiest way to do it is with repetitiveness and slowly and gradually, and people don't even notice, and then it's too late. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
well,
good.
It's never too late to wake up. That's the good news.
That is the good news.
People in the worst of society, just like Jesuit Enrico, I never can remember his name because I never studied much of his material, but through interviewing Bill Hughes, who wrote the book The Secret Terrorist, Enrico Riccardio or something like that, I can't remember. But anyway, he was a Jesuit, and when he was in on the secret meetings, with the other Jesuits, and then of course he was just a guy who wanted to serve the Heavenly Father, and so he doesn't know better, and he joins the beast system, the Catholic Church, and becomes a Jesuit. And then finally one day in in his work, he ends up in a board meeting with Jesuits, and they start talking about how they created Islam in around 600 AD, and then and how they had used Islam to destroy the original Eastern Christianity that is the foundation of our spiritual tradition, and that they now are going to use Islam to destroy the Western Christianity, the mind control version of Christianity, with the mind control translations and the mind control preachers of Freemasonry and Jesuits waving their hands at the podium, walking back and forth across the stage, saying, "Can I get an amen from you? Can I get an amen out there?" You know, and they talk about stupid stuff like the insanity of pragmatism and things like that. You know, when I thought pragmatism was the way we're supposed to be. You know, pragmatic, to look at things independently and separate from one another. But no, either you're Democrat or Republican, babe. Either one. You're either with us or you're against us. Which one is it? You know, and so he comes out. He quits, and he exposes, the Jesuit, element of world domination for the Vatican. Of course, they never get past the Vatican to the unseen hand, which is the ancient Aryan Brahmin, going back to the Watchers and all that. But he gets out, gets married, and becomes an activist of truth, and then he goes to the dentist one day, and they inject him with something. Before that happened, a cardinal walked into his office wearing his giant cross, like a 3-foot cross. You know how they all wear the big crosses on their chest.
Yeah.
So feel really religious.
It's got the bling. Yeah.
And then walks into the office with his beanie cap on. Funny how those beanie caps look just like the ones they wear in Israel.
Yeah.
And that symbolism again. So you got to read it. That's Lucifer, the moon on top of their head. They're shining with darkness, and he walks in and says, "You better stop talking about bye, and you better stop talking about we're going to get you, we're going to rub you out. You know what I mean? We can do that, And then he leaves, and sure enough, he goes to the dentist, gets a needle maybe for Novocaine or something, and it was Cain already. It was the other side of Cain, and he died shortly thereafter, got cancer, and
wow.
Typically they do it, sure. You really got to know what dentist you go to, okay? And if because the same thing with going to the hospital. You don't want to be an organ donor, okay? Don't be an organ donor on your driver's license because when you end up in the hospital, you may not come out. Okay?
I don't even have a driver's license to have.
Good.
Yeah.
There's the money rack. Well, some people do, you see, because they're good people.
Yeah.
And they want to do the right thing, you see. And so therefore, because they volunteered, guess what? They may end up being worth $1 million for all their body parts, and somebody decided they wanted them, and then they'll just put you to sleep on the table, and you'll never wake up again, because that is how it happens. You see,
yeah,
it is what's going on. That's why the first television program, we're talking about symbolism today. The first television series for like the medical TV program, a drama drama. It was the first one in America in the 1950s was called Dr. Kildare. Dr. Kildare. And so when it reverse the words, it means dare to kill, doctor, dare to kill, okay? Because that's why you're here, remember?
Yeah.
But the Knights Templars are behind the hospitals. The Knights Templars were the hospitalers. Well, that's what the hospital is then, right? And you see, so look at it's in the words, it's in the symbol of Red Cross, okay? The Red Cross out of Switzerland, and that's the Knights Templar again. They got autonomy during war, makes it the perfect spy operation. They can go cross borders, on either side. So I guess it's all an agreement then. I thought if you're at war with somebody, you ain't not letting nobody in your property, But apparently not. Apparently this, this warfare thing, it's just an arranged agreement. We're going to wage war this way. That's what they do in Geneva, Switzerland, of course, right? The generations of Eve. Right? Generations of Eve. How are we going to wage war on the generations of Eve? Well, let's go get a sit around the conference table. Okay, so it's okay, to do this, or you're not going to do this, but if, nobody's going to do weather warfare, or biological warfare on you, but it's okay if you do it on your own people. Okay, that's all right, but, just don't do it on us, all right? Yeah, sure. Okay, so they all agree they can do, weather warfare and chemical warfare on your own people in Geneva, the generations of Eve, but just don't do it, on the other. Of course, we know that with the weather warfare, it's a wide open game because you can't even know if you're being targeted with weather warfare. And that would be also really true anyway with the biologicals because they did it during World War I when they took I think it was chicken pox and they brought it over on the ships into Spain around 1918, 1919, right at the point of World War I. So the influenza outbreak occurred in Spain first, and then it went all over Europe, and I guess it killed more people than the war itself, and so that's how the game is played with this wonderful cabal that they're running our world, which is the front office of the Vatican and their agents. The Jesuits wrote Mein Kampf for Hitler. And it's all an open secret. All this stuff is known. It's all out there. The guy's name I have it written down on a 3x5 card. I just can't remember all this stuff in my head, But it's not our world, Ninja. It's simply not our world. And we need to wake up to that. People actually want to save the world, and they can't even save themselves. Isn't that interesting?
Wow. Yeah, just so much to think about, and at the same time, it's so simple. It's so simple, Desert. The complicated part is the deception. The simple part is the way home.
Well, that's it. The good news is once we can separate ourselves from the world, realize we're not of this world, that it was a dark force that decided they wanted to enslave the rest of mankind, that had the knowledge of the universe in their brains, and they decided instead of being benevolent, the ego and the serpent, which is the flesh, captured them. They were captured by their own serpent, and that's what the Naga means. Naga is an abbreviation of Nagash. The Nagash, the nail that comes down when you're gashed by a serpent's fang. The Nagash is the strike of the serpent that comes down. But it had a double meaning that the serpent was not evil by itself, just like a gun is not evil by itself, nor owls are evil by themselves. I get a bad rap.
Owls are not evil.
I never knew about Moloch being an owl at the time I took on the metaphor in the 1980s. But anyway, but the Nagash, the Nagash is, and it's really the original word for the navigator. So literally, Adam, when he was being called the serpent in the King James, while in the Strong's Concordance he's called the Naga, which means the wise serpent, means the one who knows. So when it said that the serpent was more subtle, that's the gloss. That's the cover. It wasn't the serpent was more subtle. The serpent knew more than any other creation on the planet, knew about everything, how it operated. In fact, he had named everything while Yeshua was making everything. He had named everything. So he was an insider who knew how everything on our planet and in the universe function, about the free energy, about the metallurgy, mixing of mineral or the mixing of plants, crossbreeding, of animals, or selective breeding for specific purposes, and that's where we got, through that intelligentsia, so much of what we use today, from the technologies to chickens who can't fly anymore. They can't fly away, so we got them. And things like that, the selective breeding, the celery, the giant carrots, or corn. Show me some wild corn in the wilderness. You can't find it anymore because the selective breeding cross-pollinated with it, and it disappeared in the wild because it couldn't, compete with the kind that now needed man to put it in the ground. If you didn't put it in the ground, it would all die, and there would be none. So the selective breeding has a double-edged sword to it because it requires man to keep plowing and planting to keep it going. So a lot of interesting, things in this story. I just don't know where to go. But they conquered the world, and they took it for their playground. That's why, like when they created America, they always in the political stages in the 1960s, and in particular in 1970s, they finally stopped using the term after the Bushes, but they called it the Great Experiment. And goes so like what part of freedom is an experiment? How can freedom be an experiment? It's not. So we know that when they called America the Great Experiment, they weren't talking about freedom. They were talking about us being their lab rats, the experiment, that they could, like one group of black men from World War II or whatever, Korean War, then they ended up with syphilis, so they tell them they're going to treat them. And all they did was pretend to treat them and let the syphilis develop so they could monitor the symptoms and how they develop within victims, And so the atomic bombs, they take some of the military guys, the GIs, twice slaves, twice dead and twice slaves, and tell them, okay, when we blow up that bomb, then I want you to come out of the ditch and start walking towards the center. Okay, yeah, boss, sure, anything. What did he say? And we're going to walk towards the explosion. Okay. Is it going to hurt us? No, ain't going to. The CEO, the senior officer is going to tell him, oh, you got it. Everything's okay, boy. You got your goggles, don't you? Oh, then you're all right, So they killed, and then the fallout from the radiation goes into Utah and other parts of the world. And I guess the United States government has killed more of its own people, perhaps, than maybe as many as the rest of the world. I don't know. But they've been waging war on mankind. So the United States, talking about symbolism again, the American flag, is the 50 states is merely a metaphor. It's not, the stars don't represent the United States being quote unquote America, but it's the United States of the world. It's a metaphor for the United States of the world, organized against the people. The German state, the Iranian state, they do a good job. Now that the bad guy, that is allowed to get beaten up on is Iran. Iran, it was Iraq, but now it's Iran. And Iran has really been on the deal from the beginning. They're one of the most ancient civilizations, that is still running today. And so all of these states are in on the game. One has to agree to be the good guy. One has to agree to be the bad guy. And of course, the leaders are always protected, and they escape, and their twin or their double gets killed, except for Gaddafi, because he decided to be, Gaddafi was a real unique character, I guess, because he grew up in a tent. He knew what hard times was all about, and humanity, and Gaddafi, gave free phones, free housing to any new couple who got married. I mean, this guy, free schools, free medical, college, be a doctor, whatever you want to be, and literally his family, his mom and dad were the last ones to move out of a tent. He said, the people of Libya will be in an apartment or a home before my mom and dad, and so Libya means liberation, so he got demonized by the New World Order, Old World Order, One World Order. There is no New World Order. There's nothing new about it. But because he wanted to go on the gold standard, he could have been like a royal prince, like those Saudi family desert rats. Gaddafi could have been just like them, having giant towers and what have you. And but he was started with the Bush or Reagan, I can't remember now, but I think it was Bush that went on his land and dropped some bombs. Actually killed his daughter, who was in a tent. They were sleeping in tents and near the big palace. And so the symbolism, nobody gets it. It was, of course, Hillary Clinton who was in on the operation and betrayed actually the ambassador of Libya and some wonderful, heroic American Marines who apparently were there, I guess maybe guarding the place. I don't know the whole story, but I do know how Hillary Clinton, they called, said, we need backup, we need to be rescued by, Delta Force or whoever, the SEALs, and they let them, they just abandoned them. The Clinton White House abandoned them and let them be, murdered. The GI guys who killed 100, 100 to 1, killed 100 of the CIA Islamic takeover group, and then but the ambassador, he got captured, and he was literally tortured for at least 8 hours with electronic prods, on his private parts and everything else, literally tortured for better part of a day. And that's what the United States, British Corporation, Vatican owned in a box will do to their own people, let alone to the rest of the world. So the political states are united. The UN is the symbol of that. The UN for united. UN also is French for one, un, and it's the one. It is the one world order. And then people buy into the planisphere map that's on there, which comes from India. That circular map that looks like a pancake on the UN flag is Hindu. It's the ancient Aryan planisphere, called the planisphere, and it originates in India. And it's just another way they mapped out parts of the world, but it's not a legitimate map from a geographical standpoint. But they were able to use them to do their calculations and things like that. So nobody knows how the game is played. Ninja and everybody, is guessing, and because somebody tells them something, they think they know something. They've never done an ounce of research. They're not journalists, but they think they know how the world is operated, And so I was fooled by Sandy Hook. I thought Sandy Hook was a real, event. When I saw the picture of the principal, the beautiful lady that was the principal, of all the school, I actually had tears coming down my eyes that all of these children and all these beautiful people were killed. And then one day somebody on this YouTube channel a few days later said, hey, by the way, that thing at Sandy Hook, don't give it any of your energy, okay? It's not real, it didn't happen. I said, what that guy say? So immediately I started looking at all the clips. Like a journalist, you got to be a journalist. And so I looked at every clip I could find, and I realized that when I cried, when I wasn't even connected to the story, and I had tears coming down my eyes for the loss of so many lives of innocent people, and then I looked at all these different people being interviewed by Diane Sawyer and Robbie, who comes on laughing before he's interviewed about his daughter that's killed.
Yeah,
he's coming on
I remember
the camera
that.
and laughing.
Yeah.
I realized that not one of them that was acting like they were crying had a tear coming down their eyes. There was not one who pretended to be crying ever had a tear coming down their eye.
Yeah.
It was the ultimate charade.
They could at least put that fake tear stuff in their eyes that the actors use, make it a bit more realistic. Yeah.
Yeah, they could have done a better job faking it,
Yeah. They think we're that stupid, and
they know
that's the thing.
Stupid.
People are. They fall for it. I'm nowhere near above that. Like I used to be the most gullible, see the good in everything first kind of person, and had a lot of unnecessary energy used up with having emotional reactions to complete strangers' heartbreak that I now know was all fake. So I know where you're coming from. It's just... Yeah,
sure, you go to a movie, and what happens? Immediately your heart starts racing, your pulse is increased, and then you start, clenching the seat because of the violence that's occurring, or you start crying because of the love scene. They learn how to control our emotions very well, and
I was a
so
complete...
That is part of mind control mechanism. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I was a complete mess during E.T. That was the most extreme reaction I've ever had watching a movie, and we were in the old picture theatre in Port Macquarie, and it had a second floor, like a balcony section, and it was pretty elaborate, and it didn't cost any extra to go up to the balcony section. It just meant that all the tickets were sold out down the bottom. So we ended up in the balcony watching E.T. I was like 11 or 12 years old, and from the point where E.T. died, I did not stop crying. Like I was an absolute mess, and Yeah, so I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't get home, did he?
He did.
Oh, he did get home.
Yeah, he got home. He got it on his, and that made me cry even more. When.
Oh. I kind of liked it when he broke out the beer and got a little intoxicated. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was funny.
I took my daughter and my stepdaughter there, so that was a long time ago. I remember. It was cute. He was a cute little guy.
Yes, he was.
Extraterrestrials. They're opening the door. Go ahead.
Yeah. I don't think I've got anything more at the moment.
Nobody did a better job of making an alien look friendly, I gotta say that.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Actually, well... Yeah, sorry. Before we go too much further, I just want to welcome everybody and let you know who's here, because you can't see the chat. Yeah. So I'll just go through. We've got Lynn, and we've got Shelley, and we've got Duck. And NinjaCat 111. Never seen that channel before. But anyway, who else? You're supposed to be laughing at that, Desert.
Oh.
Thank you.
A little more symbolism here. All right.
And Liz, hi Liz, yeah, love. Everyone's here, love you guys. And I'm gonna say Irish boy. Hi, Irish boy. That's easier for me to say in my Aussie
in
slang.
Ireland, sure. And well, great to be in such good company. And happy birthday to Young as well. Apparently, he's gonna see. Let's see if he's gonna fess up to how old he is. I just remembered that that was his 48. Okay, so anyway, look, I want you. You notice I've got perceptions. Okay. New Year's, okay? New Year's is. Let's ask the question. Is it New Year's?
Is it?
Is it New Year's, Ninja?
I don't see any difference between. Hang on, it's the second day of the year for me right now, but I don't see any difference between yesterday and the day before. That's my answer.
Okay, so well then, what do you mean?
I slept through it.
Is it an illusion? Is it an illusion, or?
I think it's well, from my research, like just from my research alone, like I already knew that the calendar had been changed. I didn't go too much into what the original calendar was, but I knew it had been changed, and I knew it was kind of out of sync and out of whack with natural cycles. Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah. The question could be what.
And it's commercialized as well. Sorry.
And does the New Year start on January 1st? Okay, let's before we go there, let's ask the question: when does the new day start? When does the new day start? You want to tell me?
The new day, according to. That's a trick question. Because there's two answers.
No, there's only one answer.
Okay, so there's okay, all right. The day starts when. The day starts when the sun rises, but it also starts at midnight. That's what I was thinking.
No.
Like my Wednesday has already started. Okay.
Both answers are wrong. Okay.
Okay.
The day starts when the new day starts when the sun goes down and sets.
Wow.
From
okay.
Ancient time.
Yeah, I think I remember you saying that in one of your streams.
Right.
Yeah.
But because they don't want us associated with natural thinking and connected with the Mother Earth and the Father Spirit, then they disassociate us from the visual aspect of that reality and truth, and they put it in the middle of the night, what they call midnight, after it's 4 hours or a couple hours already been dark, so we can't ever put our finger on the very moment when the day changes. Oh, presto magico, it's a new day. Yeah. Well, it really started. So and it also then becomes a metaphor to teach us that it all begins with the darkness. Before the light can come, we are in the darkness.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I get it now. I totally get it. I do remember you saying that in a stream, but it didn't sink in.
From a spiritual element to an exoteric, natural element, it is a logic and a teacher in our spiritual journey that we came into the darkness first, and we are waiting for our sunrise, which is ultimately when we receive the great breath of the wind and fire. Yeshua, after 3 days and 3 nights being in the grave, then he broke out of the tomb at sunrise. He is the sunrise, you see.
I see. Wow.
You see. So we want a spiritual sunrise. So the new day. So when is the new year? Well, because we can tell if we look at what's right in our face every day, but we can't read, nor can we put things together. Okay, so let's look. September. Sept is 7, and then October. Oct is 8. Octave. And then November is 9, the M, and then December is 10.
Wow, it is too.
You see? And therefore there's 2 longer months, 2 of the longest months of winter, January and February. Look how long the words are.
Yeah.
It's like, and then all of a sudden you get the short words again coming. March.
Yeah.
Oh, March is when the armies went on the march, and that's when they began their campaign around the world to conquer the world on the march on the first of the year, because March is also synonymous with the word mark, depending upon how you pronounce it. And that's where the mark is for the beginning of the year. The question is then, was that the lunar calendar versus the solar calendar? Because basically it looks like we've got 2 calendars, one on top of the other. The one that we're not that we never think about or talk about is the occultic, which is the original, and it starts in March on the mark.
It's all there. It's all right there. Now that you've explained it like that, it's right there in front of us. Yeah.
They lied to us about everything under the sun.
They have.
Everything.
Yep.
And so it's not a new year. It's an illusion of a new year. It's all grand illusion. It means nothing. None of it means anything, but yet they get us to party. And of course, they have their year-end sales with the holy days of Christ Mass, and put on the commercial game to make sure they can sell as much of their produce and make as much profit for the year-end as they can. Get everybody buying those gifts and all that stuff, and out of great anxiety.
And alcohol.
And and alcoholism on top of it to put the fix in for their anxieties. So it's tragic because the world goes after it. They're born into a world that everything they're told they accept as being true, correct, complete, and not misleading. And then then one day, hopefully, if they're fortunate, they could actually wake up to the reality that it's not their world, and that everything is a big lie. But for most, it'll never happen. They'll kill you to support the lie. People will, especially in religion, they will kill you to support the lie. And I feel so sorry for those Islamabads. Those people are just, they are the epitome of depravity and slavery, mind slavery. All for a perk. A perk. You'll have all the 3 wives, and we'll get you on welfare. Don't worry about it, blah blah. And the illusion of superiority, because you got 3 women, 10 children. Makes you feel more like a man. Of course. But well, they get welfare paying for it, of course. And it's amazing. Talking about these characters, I'll give you the perfect example because it was very symbolic for me at the end of my trial. When I got railroaded by the state, framed for crime I didn't commit, but they did. They committed it, and they framed me for it. At the end, there when my second trial was going to happen, after I got life without mercy, meaning on that no hope of ever coming out, but I didn't, go to prison. I had a second trial because the good guys came on the scene right at the last moment and betrayed their own sheriff's department with the evidence that was exculpatory in my favor. And but in this latter part where I got the record for the longest case in West Virginia's history, 26 months of torture, in the latter episode, there was a Muslim who came in. Let's talk about symbolism, okay?
Okay.
About Islam. This this character, I don't remember his name. Glad I don't want to. But he basically, you know, here he is, a family man, Islamic family man. He's got his, you know, his wife and children. At the same time, he's a drug dealer, dealing in cocaine, and apparently he has a girlfriend on the side as well. But she is in a wheelchair, and she turns out that she was an FBI informant. And so he's in a hotel with her, and I guess they're selling cocaine. And somehow he figures out that she's a narc informant, and so because he's, you know, half insane already, just being you know, Islamic, but then also taking cocaine, and then paranoia sets in, and he realizes that she's apparently, you know, working for the other side. He then tortures her to death, you know, and you know, with over 300 stab wounds to her body, poking her eyes out, cutting her, you know, private parts and everything else. You know, so tragic of a still horrific story. You know, over 300 knife wounds, and then again he gets arrested, of course, in this scenario, and he's in there. And so, you know, I realized that this, you know, as I am a you know, journalist and a researcher, and always trying to figure things out, the psychology of what have you. You know, when I saw him come into the jail there, because you're in there with all kinds. You're in there with every kind. Even when you're innocent, you're in there with the worst of them. And you know, and I thought, well, you know, it'd be interesting to you know, find out, you know, what this guy's about. You know, and
oh, wow, Desert. Oh.
And I figured out he's got to be pretty lonely anyway. Nobody wants to talk to him, you know, and. So, but typically in these environments, there's like a code where we don't talk about, you know, what everybody's in there for. In other words, we all treat ourselves equally in that environment. You know, like we're all being accused of being the worst thing under the sun anyway. So, you know, so we all can, you know, congregate and communicate with each other. And so I just sort of befriended him just to, you know, get in his mind and see what he's, you know, where he was coming from and everything. And so. One thing was interesting. I got to just throw this in, you know, because I had no regard for the guy at all, of course, even though I was, you know, talking to him. And then all I ever want to watch on the TV is the news. You know, I figure at least I can maybe learn what's going on in the outside world while they got me captured. And he wanted to face off with me one day. Hey, he says, "Hey, Desert, turn that TV down," you know. And I just ignored him, and I stood there in the pod just staring at the TV. "Hey, Desert, you know, turn that TV. Hey, don't disrespect me, man." You know, and I found out that they have this cliche. You'll hear it from all these Islamics. They'll say, "Hey, don't disrespect me, man." You know, like they want respect. You know, and so he stands up and he confronts me face to face. "Hey, man, you gonna turn that TV down?" And I said, "Oh, okay," you know. And I went over and I turned it down, and then I went up to my room after that, you know, after the news, and then he comes back up to the second tier, and he comes over to my cell, and he opens the door. He says, "Hey, Desert," you know, I thought this was the funniest thing. He says, "Hey, Desert, you know, you and I shouldn't fight. You know, that we're both intellectuals here, and you know, so you know, you're right. You know, we should be a little more respectful. I'm sorry, you know." And so that's how we live. But I thought it was the funniest thing. He's considering himself an intellectual, you know, this guy, and so you know, so it's a very tough environment to be in, but nonetheless, I found it interesting just to ignore him, and you know, and to hear him talk about respect, you know. And what's really ironic about the story is here where both of us are being tried for the worst crimes on earth. You know, I falsely accused of, you know, killing somebody. It was an act of self-defense. Actually, I was protecting somebody, but the sting operation was set up by the government, and therefore I was forced to use, you know, but it wouldn't. Nobody had to die. They made sure the body bled to death, and so therefore they could have a murder rap on their hands.
Wow.
So that's how they did it. You know, and you know it's called the golden hour. When somebody gets shot, you've got to immediately stop the bleeding, or within 1 hour they're going to die because the blood pressure will go down. You know, and so they knew that. Therefore, they made sure they had a body on their hands. So they initiated the stunt. It was an MK Ultra mind control operation there in West Virginia, the heart of MK Ultra mind control, and Robert Byrd's back office. He was the head of MK Ultra mind control, and Senator Robert Byrd, who was also the handler of a Kathy O'Brien, and who was the presidential sex slave, and came out of the program and exposed all that. But in that, so they set it up. Then they set a situation up where violence is being committed against another. I had to defend somebody's life. Then they make sure somebody dies, and then So in the process, I am at my second trial, and so it turns out that on the day I'm going to the last day of my trial, the second trial. I'm in the back seat of the van, with a guy who's going to his first trial, and it's that Islamic piece of garbage that
demands respect.
An innocent woman.
Yeah.
And I am set free on that day. And as he started his trial on that day, he ends up going to the river for life without ever coming out. And so I found it very symbolic that the patriot, the innocent guy, and then the Muslim, the one who wants to take over the world with all of his buddies, goes up the river for forever. And so it was just I found, since we're talking about symbolism today, that's why I'm talking about it, because to me it was symbolic. The Heavenly Father sets me free, and I get an inside view of what these Islamic fads are all about.
Yeah.
Up and down. Don't disrespect me, man. Yeah, don't disrespect them. Sure, they hate your guts, and they hope they can have a fillet out of you, and on a table somewhere one day, real soon. Just because you don't think like them.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Thank you, Desert.
That's
That's an amazing story. Thank you for sharing that.
I've been through the heart of the beast, and it's a miracle I'm alive today. But it's because I've been serving Yeshua all my life, and it's because he put me on a great mission to know things. I had to go through the fire of the beast. That's symbolic of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego going in the fire in Babylon, or Abraham Haim, who did it for 3 days and 3 nights. Symbolic again of the Mashiach. With Nimrod back prior to his, coming into Canaan's land, and having his family and everything. He was put in the fires in Babylon because he destroyed all the idols and images of his father, Terah, because he had just spent 40 years in Yerushalayim, Shalom, or the city of Shalom, with Noah and Shem, and who is Melchizedek. He spent 40 years there studying under them. So my life has been dedicated to unraveling the truth and the mystery of life. Only so that I could be set free. I had this pretty selfish motive. I wanted to be set free and be able to transcend this dirty, rotten, stinking world. So I could, because I just knew, I saw how inferior I was to the greatness of our Redeemer and of who he was and what he offered, and the story of Yeshua. And I saw what my parents did to me, that they hatched me like a free-range chicken, and I didn't know anything, and nobody told me anything, and so I was at the worst possible point in creation, and that was knowing nothing, to being totally naive, totally introverted, couldn't talk in a crowd, literally. And so I guess it's rather ironic now that you can't shut me up, but at one point I was so inside myself that I had no identity with anything, and it was so it was a matter of finally when I read the scriptures at age 16, and I knew, and I ultimately identified that I was on a spiritual quest all my life, and the reason I was conscious in my mother's womb and able to see fecal light and remember sucking my thumb, and then had these visions consistently for the first 2 decades, about every 6 months of facing this Darth Vader, this dark image that I couldn't lift my arms. My arms were like lead, But then after I was struck by lightning in 1998, while rinsing my hands under a faucet, and the house was struck by lightning, and it came out white lightning surrounded my hands, and had a vision. I was holding a 36,000-foot sword in my hand, and because I just had 20 years of study, of deep study, and all my scriptures and collecting, lost writings and everything, and then Father said, "Now you're ready to do battle," and that's when I was about to face my ultimate test, and went to West Virginia to fall victim to a government sting operation, and therefore I knew who I was, I knew who I served, I knew who they were. And therefore they couldn't take me down because I was under the power of Yeshua, rather than participate in their phony court. You know, I wouldn't take their mail. I wouldn't talk to the attorneys. I let them have their little courtroom game, and I just trusted the Father. And the more I resisted those attorneys, the more they actually seemed like they wanted to go to bat for me for some reason. I don't know, but it was amazing. I wanted to report a crime, and they didn't want to take the report. And you know, they even said they didn't care whether I was innocent or guilty. I said, really? That's interesting. You guys don't care whether I've committed a crime or not, and you're going to defend my case and all that? Because I did talk to them periodically just to see where they were coming from and to report time, you know. But I never helped them once in the entire case. I trusted the Father, and it seemed like the more I rejected them, the more they wanted to go to help me. So it's life is amazing. You know, when we truly identify with our spiritual nature, we have to realize we have a destiny, and when we fall into the body of Yeshua through the waters of purification, we then, it says in our scriptures, are predestinated. So we have to recognize that we have a predestination, and therefore now it comes down to brass tacks. We have to trust. We have to learn to connect with Him. We have to learn to put on the light and to look towards that light and to want it all that He has to offer. So we will be tested, and so most people are not going to meet the test. You know, that's coming because they've not been on their knees. They've not studied the books. They've not given up the things of the world. The world owns them. You know, just like when somebody buys a car or buys a house, you know, they don't own the house. The house owns them. You know, they're a slave to it, right? 40-year mortgage. Got to go to work. Got to, you know, and so you can't. That we do the things that we do enslave us, and so to be set free is really to have nothing. You can't ask for a better deal. There's no better situation, you know, to have than to have nothing, because then you're free, you know. And so they were taking away my freedom, but then, hey, I got free room and board. I could read the scriptures all day long, and so I got a decade worth of reading in about 2.5 years. You know, I was on hyper mode. I started my dictionary in the hole. I spent 6 months in the hole.
Wow.
You know, 3 months, a 3-month stretch at my request, just to get away from all the rats and the cheese eaters who were trying to make my day, you know, make sure I never got a day of sunshine again, you know. So life is testing us. We're here to wake up. The reason we come to earth is to wake up, to find out who we really are in this great mystery of existence. You didn't make yourself. I didn't make myself, but someone did. Somebody put us here, and so we have to wake up to the true nature of things. My all-time quote, you know, of all the quotes I wrote was, you know, when I'm laying on a concrete slab in there, and it was, do you wish, once we can begin to comprehend the true nature of things, then we can begin to comprehend that there's nothing more to complain about.
I love that quote.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
It's the truth. There is nothing to complain about when you know the truth, because you know the nature of the world. Therefore, you already know the things that are going to be coming at you, and the closer you get to the truth, the more things are going to come at you.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be tested,
yeah.
And you're going to have to put on the armor and pull out the sword of truth and conquer. That's what it's all about. It's a metaphorical experience. It's a battle, but it's an inner battle of the mind. It's not an external battle. It's an inner battle. But you may get tortured physically. You know, you may get punched in the nose. You may get kicked down the stairwell. You know, all those things can happen to you. But you've got to know who you are and know who you serve and know who sees all things. There ain't a moment in your existence He doesn't know or see or hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
It's the most amazing aspect of the nature of the Great One, you know, of His connection with us. He made us, and if He made the eyes, and He made the ears, and He made the mouth, can He not hear, see, and speak Himself, and have a connection with us? As it says, He knows how many hairs are on our head, and I know it's absolutely true.
Wow, does it?
Let's go to a break, and we'll pick it up on the other side.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, I think, are you still there? You haven't hit the mute button yet?
I did, but I'm back. Anything again?
Yeah, just one thing. I just saw I saw capital letters in the chat while you were talking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Question?
And I did promise. Yeah. But I think the question, I think you just answered the question. I'll read it out anyway. Irish Boy says, will our Creator protect us while we stand for Him? Spiritual help, strength. And I think you answered that very well, Desert.
Well, I guess I did. You see, it's really within our court. The ball's in our court, because if we will trust Him, He will protect us. In other words, it is a law. It is His law. His word is good. But will we trust Him? Will we, absolutely surrender to His will? You see, that's what it comes down to. And so, my story is bigger than most, only because, as you know, what He's done with me with the words, what we're going to talk about when we get back, is that He put me on a big mission to unravel the mystery of the diction, the code, and therefore our scriptures that have been destroyed by the Jesuit Curii. And so because my mission is greater than the average. And remember, He said that He gives much to, He requires much of. And so that's why my persecution and my story is so much more dynamic and great. And therefore I also knew that truth as well. And therefore also knew I'd rather trust Him. I knew I was better off trusting Him than trusting a group of attorneys and a judge and an administration that had already framed me. Was I going to go to the guys who framed me and I expect to get justice? Like the mafia beats you up and they call you up and they say, hey, Desert, we know we kind of did a bad deal with you and took everything you own, but we'd like to give you a chance to get it back. You want to come and play poker with us? We'll give you a chance? No. They weren't going to give me no chance. So I knew there was no better place for me to be than to surrender to the Father above and let them do their own thing, and I'll do my own thing, and we'll all be at peace, okay? And I saw things turn around one by one, and at one point the judge was so upset with the prosecution when they're all in the same criminal clique, and he just started turning on them, and at the end, and this is a judge where when the first time he came into the courtroom at the first hearing, that they had, and they say everybody rise, I stayed seated, and when he walked past me, I looked him right in the eye, and that happened like 3 times, and after 3 times, when the bailiff comes in and says everyone rise, the deputy sheriff comes in, and next time says everyone remain seated, and for 2 years everyone remained seated. Nobody stood up for the judge. And I found out that my I had power. I can make things happen. Within my inner being. And so my silence, and sitting on the side and not sitting with the attorneys. I got beaten up one day where they tried to make me sit with those attorneys, and I wouldn't do it. They broke the nerves in my hands, stamped on my chains, on my feet, and pushed my wrist right through the seat to try to get me. And I said I refuse everything for fraud and for cause, shouting at the top of my lungs in the courtroom. That was packed. So I made my statements, and so they got me out of there. And so the good guys, people who could think, could figure something out. This guy's being accused of the worst crime on earth, and he's not going to participate. So you see, my own action was my voice, and therefore good people come forward at one point. When they beat me up in the courtroom, they threw me back in the sheriff's jail, to figure out what their next move was going to be. Then all of a sudden, a guy comes back to the sheriff's jail with a cup of coffee in his hand. This guy had been seeing around the sheriff's jail all the time with a beard, and he says, "You want a cup of coffee?" He had the coffee pot in his hand and a cup, and yet I was fasting, so I wasn't eating or drinking, for this trial, and so for this particular hearing, during this time, I wasn't eating, and all the time I wish somebody would offer me coffee. One time, somebody comes back and offers it, I'm not drinking. And it turned out that was the senior investigator, Robbie Bone, who knew they were hiding the exculpatory evidence that was in my favor, that could set me free. He wasn't a part of the criminal clique. He was a Christian, and he was a senior investigator, and all the guys that he worked with, were criminals for the most part. And so they always have good guys among the bad guys. You have to. That's the way the compartmentalization works. So most of the guys aren't in on the deal.
Yeah.
Only a few are criminal, really.
Yeah.
And so, so those are the type of tests I had to go through, and ultimately, I didn't know who he was then, but I learned later on, that he was the one who brought forward the evidence that set the groundwork for my second trial. I never went to prison. I requested to stay in the jail, and we're all tested, but
Yeah.
but we and the problem is, of course, our scriptures are so watered down. Christianity is so watered down that very often people with real integrity want nothing to do with Christianity because they feel it's a fool's game. What a bunch of pathetic people are in this realm of religion. Religion is sickening when you see it on the surface. But
Yeah.
so we're talking about the reality of what came to us that's under a cover of falsehood. And so it's simply waking up to the reality that our spiritual traditions have been manipulated by criminal elements that are so deceptive and so perverted that it defies our imagination. They're the ones who are claiming the religion, but so we have to simply see and read it for ourselves. We have to become scholars. Nobody's going to tiptoe through the tulips and waltz into the kingdom of heaven. You have to be a scholar. You have to put all of your. It said that you have to love Him with all of your heart, with all of your mind, with all of your soul, with all of your being, with all of your time, with all of your energy, with every penny you have, with all the ounce of your being. And if you aren't willing to do that, you're not going. You see, it's an absolute 100%. It's 110%. Because, in other words, the lies are so great. How will you ever figure it out if you're going to passively go at it? You can't passively go at it and think somehow all the answers are going to come to you. I've got 5 different versions of the Aramaic I'm reading right now, and the most important Greek of them all. I'm just finishing it right now after a year of reading it. I never thought I'd read the scriptures from cover to cover again, but after I got the most important version of them all, for Fenton, I had to do it one more time, and I can't tell you how it's opened up to me. And at times it seems like I've never read the scriptures. So the rabbit hole of truth is so deep that we need to get focused. We want to save our families. We want to save our little ones. We want to save ourselves.
Yeah.
So we've got to realize that it's time to turn the television off. It's time to stop going bowling. There's nothing wrong with entertainment or going out having fun, but it has to be on such a minimal scale. You can only have one passion. You can't have 2 passions. Like it says, you can't ride 2 horses, or you can't have 2 owners, because you'll either hate the one or love the other. You'll despise one and serve the other. You can't be in this a dichotomy of objectives. You can only have one objective, and that is to transcend this world. That's the only way it's going to happen. That's the reason we came here, was to wake up to the truth. One aspect, we have a royal ruler. We have a king. To use that's king. That's really a negative word. We have a royal malak, a royal messenger of light that was instituted by Yahweh, who came here to show us the way back home, the way to reality. And when I get back from the break, I'm going to read an interesting part of the dictionaries of myths and scriptures, and it's right here with what I'm referring to. But we have a royal ruler, and we are of a royal creation. We have to realize we're not animals, and we're not animals on the animal farm. We are of a higher order. We are an intellect. The body is the illusion. That's the serpent, and that's the one that wants to tell us what to do. And we have to become dominant over the serpent and over the body and over the flesh, and we have to become masters of walking on water. That's the metaphor. Yeshua, when he walked on water, he told Ketsa, said, "Hey, I want to do that." He says, "Come on out." And he started walking on water. Then he got scared, and he saw the darkness, and he saw the wind and the waves. And all of a sudden he thought, "Man, what if I sink?" And all of a sudden he started sinking. See, he lost his trust. He was doing it. And then Yeshua grabs him by the hand, puts him back in the boat. We have to be able to walk on water in the metaphor, and that is to become masters of life, masters of our serpent, of our passions, of our desires, of our thinking. We have to become scholars. we have to recognize that that's the quality that is hiding within us. We are intellectual beings. We can transcend the universe. We can take off like a rocket ship, but they got us in Kittyland, in Disneyland, a little toys and games, and insanity. Did that help?
Yes, it did. Thank you. Desert, you're on such a roll tonight. It's amazing. So amazing. I can't wait to get back after the break, but I do need to get a cup of coffee or something.
I'm glad I like Chinese food. I'll let you go. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. We'll just play a bit of music for a little while, and we'll be right back for part 2. Okay, we're back for part 2 of the Forbidden History Chronicles, which is about to be even more amazing than part 1 was. I'll just give out some details. Okay, I always stumble with this and I've got it right in front of me, but anyway, okay, if you want to donate, any size donation, towards the, I can't even think of the word now, Desert, can you help me? I want to say it right, the
transliteration project.
Transliteration. I was going to say translation, but I want to say transliteration. Yeah, okay.
The original thought.
Yes.
Transliteration project.
You can go to www.therealpublicradio.net. Again, that's www.therealpublicradio.net. All one word.
The word the gets confused sometimes. THE, therealpublicradio.net.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And just hit the donate button. And Desert also has some literature available. If you don't have the money for it, we're happy to give you a copy. It's amazing stuff. He has the Real Da Vinci Code, Etymological Dictionary, also the Book of Wisdom, and the original Gospel, a sample, with the dictionary attached at the back. That's a more up-to-date version of the dictionary. If you want to get hold of any of these copies, they're available in PDF format. Just send me an email, and I'll get them to you. For some reason, when I went to go live tonight, everything in the description was wiped. So nothing is in there at the moment, but as soon as this stream ends, I'll put it all back in there. All the information will be in the description underneath the live stream. You can also contact Desert on 608-566-7295. That's 608-566-7295. If you're international, add a +1. You can also text him if you're overseas, because it can be depending on your plan, can be a little bit expensive calling international. Also, you can go to Desert's channel and watch from June 21st this year. All the live streams are there on the Forbidden History series channel, YouTube channel. Desert explains the code in great detail, walks you through it. You can get a notepad and pen and figure it out as you go along. It's really good listening. Anyway, I don't think I missed anything, did I, Desert?
Yeah, thank you. That was great. We're just ramping up really with the translation project. I have a lot of materials that express what is happening, and like I said, I'll be going through some Aishavors, the original for words in this segment we're going to do. I wanted to jump in first with the Dictionary of All Scriptures and Myths by Gaskill. It's from Gramercy Publishers, but G.H. Gaskill, the guy had to be a genius. He certainly had to transcend this world and live forever to have known so much truth and to be able to express it within this dictionary prior to having computers. This thing is big, okay, like 1,000 pages, and he's defined all the scriptures from around the world, put them in a alphabetical order, and then also with at the end of each definition where you can learn more by going to other words, keyword reference to continue to expand your horizon with the meaning of these words. So in here, I do my read every day. I go through another letter of the alphabet, and then when I get to Z, I go back to the beginning and I go to the next letter in line with A, the next definition, and that's how I go through dictionaries. I don't just stay with the letter A. I go A, B, C, D, all the way through, and within a month, I've covered the alphabet, and I start over again, and I may read one or two definitions, depending on how big they are. And that's how I continue to expand. I read two different dictionaries. One's an encyclopedia on symbolism, because once I started seeing these things, then I realized I had to pursue it on my own. It wasn't enough that Yeshua was showing me something. I said, okay, well, I got to know more about what he's showing me.
Yeah.
And so I put my feet to the plow. It's not just like it all comes to me. Oh no, it came to me, and then I realized, well, this is something interesting. I've got to pursue it.
Yeah.
And then so I had to work. Everybody has to work at their soul innovation. It is a work. In fact, it even says that
it's a two-way street.
Trust.
Yeah.
Everything is a work in the sense of following Yeshua. I can't think. The scripture's not coming to me at the moment, but there's I don't use the word belief, but I'm trying to think of the scripture that I may use. This I think it says this is the work of Yahweh, that you believe on him who he has sent. So everything is a work in the sense of making the connection. And it's just that some people will do more work than others, and therefore certainly those who have, in other words, we can have there's graduations of level in the sense of the type of relationship that we can have with our Redeemer. Some people will be getting more visions and dreams than somebody else, and typically it's because they're doing more work. Yeah. That is, in other words, somebody can be at the bottom level, and they can be saved, and they can have a relationship with our Redeemer, and he will take them into the next life that follows. But they don't have any dynamic things going on, although they certainly would be receiving certain amount of dreams, visions, and communications from the Father above. But yet then some who like that would would be typical to like those who went into the monastic settings who gave us the book, the Nag Hammadi, which a book that's been demonized. Of course, it had to be demonized because it is the Nag Hammadi library has been it is the most powerful collection of Christian writings, what we call Christian, but of course the word Christian isn't our original word, but they were called Gnostics, and of course they never called themselves Gnostics in any of the writings. And then they used code words. So when the United Nations translation team, UNESCO, got a hold of all the documents, they took over and they gave it an editor. You know what an editor does? He removes. An editor, ed, means to remove. And they removed keywords and they put code words in there and did a hatchet job on the Nag Hammadi. And that's why those people, when they try to read it, can't wrap their mind around it, simply because it's so deep. And these are, in one collection, this is the deepest collection of writings on our spiritual tradition that there is, and it got the hatchet job, just like our scriptures. There is no work that is pure because the beast system runs the world, and therefore runs publishing, runs translation teams and universities, and therefore scholastics and professors, and you name it. You know, I have a an old friend. Well, he used to date my sister, but he's a professor now at a university and linguist. He's actually got the highest score on the English exam ever, he was from a friend standpoint, he was an inspiration, but I didn't know about his scholastics well enough because he was about 6 years older than me at the time when he was dating my sister, but yet he turned out to be a professor, at a university and an expert on linguistics, and he says when he goes to Israel, they give him bodyguards with machine guns, and he's renowned in China, and all these, and yet, and he's a linguist. He even does television interviews and all that, and yet I can't even get him interested in what I'm doing with linguistics, and lexicography, and etymology, and symbolism, and translations, and all that, because he doesn't think there's a creator. He absolutely does not think there's a creator.
He can't even look at it on the linguistic side of things. Like that on its own would be fascinating. Like just the code and the words and.
I'm making history.
Yeah.
Literally, I'm making literary history.
Yeah, you are.
With the Indo-Germanic mother tongue. I maybe because of the anointing of Yeshua and the unique and knowing the conspiratorial end of it, which most of the literary people who are doing dictionaries and books aren't looking at it from a conspiratorial point of view, that tricks have been played, and in the occultic and all that other stuff. So literally, I'm further down the rabbit hole than maybe anybody in our modern time, other than the occultists themselves, because Yeshua has revealed it to me by putting me at the right place at the right time to be in the right book, see the right documentary, to get the picture, and yet my sister's boyfriend, and I'm not going to mention names because I wouldn't want to embarrass anybody, but a professor in a big university who loves me in principle, because he was a great big brother for me in that time when I was a teenager, and yet he has no interest. And he even told me one day, he says, what you're doing, they don't want to know about it. That's the only thing he ever said to me. What you're doing, they won't want to know about it. And he's right. I know he's right, but I thought he would. I thought he would.
Yeah.
But no, it don't. So it's amazing how we're we're a reflection of each other, but we're in two different worlds. He's in the dead world, the world of death, and the world of. In other words, he since he doesn't think there's a creator, and he would like it, and I never got to that point of having that conversation with him yet because I meditated on that, how to approach it. And I think I know how I will, when we finally talk again. But it's ironic because since therefore there are no, there is no creator and that the universe is an accident. He reads books that are written by everybody else, and so everything that he follows is based on. He's always telling me about the next book he's reading when I was talking to him. It's often a few years because I realize it's a dead conversation. But he reads whatever anybody else thinks. I don't care what anybody thinks. I don't care what anybody thinks because I can know, and I can know through the one who made the entire universe. Directly.
Yeah.
No in between, no go between. Me connected to him. and he's leading me down the trail of enlightenment. And it's such an exciting thing, like even this morning, another discovery. I actually can't remember at the top of my head what it is, but it's like every day, I'm astounded at how it's really now I'm on hyperspeed because the time is so short, and it's been such a long journey of unfolding. The Fibonacci sequence, how it starts with the 1 and a 1, and you get a 2, and then you add the 2 and the 1, and you get 3. Then you add the 3 and the 2, and you get the 5, and you add the 5 and the 3, and you get the 8. And how that spiral gets bigger and bigger, right?
Yeah.
So my spiral started real small, but now it's really, really grown. And so now that because of everything that's going on, I know that it's at the point of explosion. And that this transliteration I'm about to do is just you'll realize that you've never read the scriptures and that you've been that what you'll be reading based on imagery and symbol and metaphor is that it'll be as close to you'll ever be able to read it without learning Aramaic itself, because we are speaking Aramaic in a corrupted form. And so that's amazing. That English was used, because it becomes their Achilles heel in the fact that it was easy to back engineer. Because all they did was, put a slant on everything, but literally the original thought is within all the diction, and so that's why it can be back engineered. That's why it's right there. Even my etymological dictionaries I've been reading that I just recently got in all admit that it's not hard to back engineer the English diction. That the components are here, the component words are all evident within our modern time. They're very much preserved, but you have to compare them, like the Latin with the Sanskrit, or the Greek, or the German, or the Hebrew, or you compare them all because they reflect on each other, and then you can see the more primitive, and that's how I've been doing it all these years. And so, So anyway, I wanted to do a read on parable because it turned out to be a real good one. And when we're talking about illusions and symbolism, it fits, because anything that creates an image, is symbolic, and also creates some type of imagery of it's like a negative word, illusion, but the illusion might be another way of saying it. The eye is the corruption for what's ill, but illusion, the illusion for the eye, for seeing. And so here it goes, a symbolic narrative of comparison to illustrate the laws of the inner world by the laws of the outer, or we could say by the image of the inner world, what we can see on the inside by the images that are on the outside. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old. That is Psalms. The expression of the inner nature will appear in the outer. And under scriptural narratives, there will be revealed the hidden wisdom of the shul, of the soul. It is clear, therefore, that if Hebrew history is to be read as our healer and his Malachim, the apostles, teach us that it ought to be read, it must not be regarded, as too many regard it, merely as a literal recital of facts regarding the Old Covenant, the Old Testament, but as it is as a typical representation of spiritual truths. Hebrew history, as written by the Holy Spirit in the Old Testament, is a divine parable. That's the entire story. You see, the entire story is to be interpreted with deeper meanings, and in the words and in the sequences of events that have occurred. That's Wadsworth from the past. Okay, it is almost singular that the identification of the laws of the spiritual world with the laws of nature should be so long have escaped recognition. No, it's not that they escaped recognition. It's that the Freemasons and the Kabbalists slipped it all under the rug and said, "Don't look at nature. So God's not there. God's not in nature. Don't." They separated the divine from all of creation when it was the divine who made the creation.
Yeah.
Or apart from the probability of a priori grounds, it is involved in the entire structure of parable. When any two phenomena in the two spheres are seen to be analogous, the parallelism must depend upon the fact that the laws governing them are not analogous, but identical. Okay. Unto you is given to know the mystery of the kingdom of God, but unto them that are without, all these things are done in parables.
Wow.
You hear, but you do not perceive. The other words, all material things, are symbols, sacraments, and tokens of eternal and spiritual facts. And what needs to be done with human beings is to awaken them to an immediate knowledge of those facts. The visible world was so real to the people that the invisible could not make much appeal. They could not see in one a parable of the other, a material representation of a spiritual reality, a mystery which could not be fully revealed to mortal flesh, but which could be immediately known nevertheless. The most real thing in our experience is just that which cannot be rationalized. It is or can be felt and known, but not explained. It is a mystery. When we are most aware of it is when we are at our best, when thoughts and feelings are most elevated, when self-desire and will are both thrown onto the side of what we perceive to be the highest and the purest, the most sacred. It is then that the supernatural breaks through and lays a hold of us. R.J. Campbell, sermon, The Mystery of the Heavenly Kingdom. And then there's one more I thought I'd throw in here because, you know, the thing you've heard me talk about, the fact that we come into the world naked, and it's symbolic, unlike all other creation. You know, birds have feathers, animals have fur, you know, but we come in and wait a minute, we gotta make something, we gotta put something on that tells us that we're not native to this world. All creation evolved, all animal life evolved on this planet, but one was spontaneously generated by the great Elohim. That was man. We are the foreigners. Deer and birds and animals are native, natural to this world. It's their world. That's why they run when they see us coming. You know, because they know that we don't belong in this world. They can see it somehow, you know. And so, so there's something we need to put on, and what we need to put on is the light. We need to be clothed in the light, and the light is the Asha Spirit, the Spirit. And so we have to put on that light. In fact, let me give myself a little more light here because it's a little challenging. And yeah, so I moved back to my desk here with my dead computer, and I needed a little overhead light here. So Paraclete, Comforter, the Asha Spirit, or Intercessor, a symbol of wisdom, the Buddhic function, allied with the highest principle, Atma Bodhi. Now, I know I've lost all the mainstream Christians because once they hear something Buddhic or, you know, Atma Bodhi, they then will run the other way because they don't comprehend the words because they've been prejudiced against Eastern words. And all I'm speaking are words. Words are not evil by themselves, but they have meaning. Bud, you have a body that is your Buddha. Your Buddha, your body is your Buddha. It's telling you it is a flower waiting to be opened. The symbolic, you know, in the East we see the lotus flower coming out of the navel. It means that we can make a connection with from where we came from. That navel is telling us we came from somewhere else. That's a reminder that we came from that proverbial and biblical port and through a event horizon that was a long journey. We went on. In fact, we went on such a miraculous journey already. This is the thing that we're talking about in spiritual metaphor, like as we've been just reading about, right? If we can read the sign and the symbol, because in other words, when we're talking about where it says in the scripture that very few are going to be saved, many seek to enter in. Many seek to enter in and claim truth, claim spirituality, claim salvation, claim all this stuff. But of course, when you look at how they live, you know it can't be true, and therefore that's why it says many seek to enter in, but few are going to be going on the ride. Few will be saved, and it's because of the great enigma of the lies that have befallen us. But to show, in other words, so our journey then is going to be like 1 in a million. That's the way you need to look at it. Like you're going to be the only one in a million going to be saved. You're going to do it because you love your self-love. You know, that's why I said love your neighbor as you love yourself, right? Because we love ourselves in the true sense of caring for. We're supposed to care for ourselves. We're supposed to embrace our life because we know we have feeling about our presence and about our nature, and therefore, so we love ourselves in that sense, not the wanting to be selfish, but self-conscious of our nature of having an experience. Of for some reason, you know, we're here, and so the journey we're going to go on, we need to go on, is dynamic, and therefore, most of the people aren't going to make it because they're not willing to make the commitment that's required to transcend this world. And the illusions are so great, and the thickness, the density of the glue that is holding them here just won't let them go. But let's ask the question: Are we already gone on that some miraculous journey where we're like 1 in a million, right? And so what was it that got us here in the first place? You know, beyond the fact that it was the will of the great Father of Light, the Obligate, to send us on this journey of self-awareness and discovery of a conscious nature, that when our parents came together, and had intercourse, interrelations, making love, and then they did it periodically, and then they may have not had a baby for 2 or 3 years, and so how many times did they have interrelations in their marriage prior to finally having the sporum unite with an egg in order to create life. Well, so we hear the picture that there's like several million sporum within one event when a man and woman make love, and so therefore, so literally, then finally at that time when the man and woman come together, and then there is another event, and then you got several million little sporum going up the birth canal towards that fertilized egg, and they're all swimming. These little serpents. We were a serpent right at the beginning. All these little serpents are wiggling towards that sun energy, because that's what it represents. The egg in the woman represents the star of the sun, representing the sun on fire, calling them, come, and so they're all going up, but yet the environment that they're going through is so great that all these enzymes are within this biological tunnel, and therefore they're all burning up, they're all dying within this event where they're supposed to make it to the other side, and then so finally,
wow.
That one little form of one.
Wow.
One out of millions, out of literally millions, and if we include all the times that they came together, but in that just one event, several million out of several million, only one made it, and that was you. You are already 1 in a million, Ninja. Did you know that?
Yeah. Because you told me that to make me feel better when I was going through something. I remember a few weeks ago, you told me that.
You said it before?
Yeah, but not quite as well as you said it just now.
Okay.
But I also saw the other meaning to it. Like that's why I was wowing. I saw the other meaning to it. The same thing applies to many will be called, but few will be going. Yeah.
That's right. The egg was calling all, and they knew that there's some type of mechanism within that little creation, that little serpent that is the sporum, and they all knew they had to go up the birth canal to get to the sun, to get to the star. And yet, even though all of them tried, most of them tried, maybe not all of them, most of them tried, they had the right mechanism to let them know which way to go, and they worked their way up there, wiggling, but yet only one of them had the ability to make it and became a life form. And so we are already, all of us, 1 in a million, 1 in 10 million, 1 in 100 million, 1 in a billion. We are all a rare number and breed. We already went on the most fantastic journey to get here. And so that journey then becomes symbolic of the final event horizon and journey that we need to go across. And that is the big one, the one that we now need to go through. And so if we can look at these symbols of nature, then they help us to get bearing on what's at stake and the rarity of the event. Because if we don't see that it's not some type of game or it's instant instant salvation, just mumbo jumbo some words, or go through some ritual and then all of a sudden everything's okay. No, I've got guaranteed salvation. Sort of like I like the movie when I watched about Martin Luther, and at the time, he quit the priesthood and woke up. Then the Catholic Church was giving out indulgences, and because they wanted to raise money to build the Vatican, they didn't want to use their money. Of course, they wanted to use poor people's money. So they were now selling indulgences, and you can get your family member out of hell, ladies and gentlemen, yes, or out of purgatory, one or the other, just by buying this indulgence. And not only that, but you can then have a guarantee to go to heaven, and it doesn't matter what you do. You can do anything you want. Just go ahead and buy this indulgence, and you'll be set free, ladies and gentlemen, right here. And don't forget, you heard it here first. And of course, then the stupid people, they say, "Wow, you mean, Father? You mean if I buy this indulgence, I can get my family member out of hell, and I can also be guaranteed to go to heaven?" Yes, my son. Yes, right now. And well, give me that indulgence there, Father. And then they get their indulgence, and then they show in the movie Luther walks over next to this guy, face down drunk, and swearing and cursing. And Luther says, "What are you doing? Come on, clean up your act." "Oh, Father, it don't matter. I got my indulgence. I just got it from the priest yesterday. I can do whatever I want to do now." He said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Yeah, I got it right here on paper." "Well, let me see that." And he takes it out and says, "Oh, don't you know you've been lied to, you fool?" And so, see, that's how like people have bought into that's why we got 600 versions of Christianity, right, Ninja?
Right. Yep.
You see? We got to have a good way to convince ourselves that we're saved. We'd rather convince ourselves that we're saved rather than to know that we are saved.
Yeah, I get that.
And that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. So we got to see the problems. We got to see the problem, and we got to see the illusion, and we got to look at the examples, and we got to know that there is a problem when you got 600 verses. Which one is it?
Yeah.
Yes, the Scripture says there's only one Lord, one faith, one baptism, and I'm using King James because all those words are corrupt, but we can do it. One Lord, one faith, one baptism, and yet we see many, many, many ways to go. And so the only one is the one inside, the truth, based on truth, separation from all lies, because the truth is not a part of any lie. And so to wait. So remember, as I used to say on my program to my computer crafts, that if the best way to find the truth is to discover all the lies.
Yep.
And then once you start discovering all the lies, he says push them out of the way, and then the only thing you got left is the truth. You see, and so that's the great mystery of this world. The world in its dense nature is a giant, big lie, and spirituality is contrary to physical nature, and so we have two. There are two of us, and only one of us can go, and so one of us has to die, and the one that has to die is the physical reality for the esoteric, invisible realm. And so let me read this quote on a definition on Paraclete and the Comforter, the Esha Spire, or Spirit, the Holy Spirit, or the Intercessor. And let me take a sip of my throat tonic here because I'm needing it. And everything good down under, Ninja?
Everything good down under? Yeah, it's hot, does it? It's hot.
Ah,
But I do have a
yeah.
little pool on the patio with a roof as protection from the sun. And
Wonderful.
it's,
Yeah, you gotta watch that.
it's deep enough
Okay.
to put a float in and float around in. So, yeah.
It's a great symbol, but it's no longer safe to be under because the Father is done with this world and it's about to, burn it up and good riddance because people are so stupid. They're practically as bad as the psychopaths that are running it.
Yeah.
They really don't care. They don't care, and we all suffer. We're all suffering because of it, and so good riddance. We got the truth that it's not our world. So we have to embrace the reality and the true world. So here we go. A symbol of wisdom is the Holy Spirit in the Aisha Shire, the Paraclete, Comforter, and Intercessor. A symbol of wisdom, the Buddhic function that allied with the highest principle, Atma Buddha, the flower. In other words, the highest principle is symbolized by the sun. That is the logo. And I will pray the Father, and He will give you another comforter, that He may be with you forever, even the Spirit of truth. Oh, so it's all about truth, right? The Spirit of truth. Maybe you love the truth, and once we identify with the truth, that Aisha Spirit will come to us. That Spirit, the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive. Oh, I'm so sorry. The world cannot receive the truth. Maybe that's why those Freemasons are so wicked, because they claim to be of truth and of light, yet they're sons of darkness, the Masonic disorder. For it behooves him not, neither knoweth, let me try this again, okay, because I end up ad-libbing and I blow the quote. Okay, and I will pray the Father, and He will give you another comforter, that He may be with you forever, even the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive, for it beholdeth him not, neither knoweth him. Ye know him, for he abides with you and will be in you. Okay, so he's living with you right now. He knows how many hairs are on your head, and very soon, if you keep on the path, Ninja, he will be in you. That is John 14, 16, and 17. The Spirit,
Thank you, Desert.
the Paraclete,
Yes, sir.
He will teach you everything. It's male, female. Here in the old Syriac version, it's feminine. She will teach you everything, but it is masculine. It is dominant. That's why the man is bigger. But in the Syriac version, they translated it with the feminine. The Spirit, the Paraclete, and that's specifically referring to what's called the Paraclete. I cannot define that word at the moment. I have to look that one up to define it. But He will teach you everything. John 14:26, Old Syriac version. To the aspiring Christ soul, there will come the response from the Absolute in the bestowal of the intuition of truth through the Buddhic function. The Buddhic function, in other words, that which is already in you, you are able to receive truth if you will open your eyes and question everything. Let me try it again. To the aspiring Christ soul, there will come the response from the Absolute in the bestowal of the intuition of truth through the Buddhic function, which the unpurified lower nature cannot receive. The unpurified. So you have to purify your heart and your mind and your being through the waters of purification and go through that stargate into the eternal realm. No longer New Year's and old years and this day and that day, because you go through the waters of purification and enter that stargate into a day without end. It is a non-ending world that you enter into through those waters of purification, which the unpurified lower nature cannot receive. It being unapparent and unknown, apparently they only can see what's in front of them. But to the disciplined qualities, the Holy Spirit is perceptible and has become the inner guide and teacher, abiding always in the soul. New quote. Christ knew what was most expedient for the disciples, because that inward sight, wherewith the Holy Spirit was yet to comfort them, was undoubtedly superior, not by bringing a human body into the bodies of those who saw, but by infusing Himself into the hearts of those who followed. That's Augustine, Gospel of purity, holiness, comes from the operation and indwelling of our spirit of a divine self to fix it on Him, which changes our blindness into light and makes us by degree like itself. Holy, pure, harmless, undefiled, separate from sinners. Separate, be ye a separate people. Come out from the corruption and be separate. Separate yourself. That's the key in this story, because you can't participate with those in darkness and think you're going to transcend with the light. We go and speak to those in darkness, but we do not engage with them in their lower affairs. The Spirit of the Lord is the energy which produces all perfection in the flowing light and purity in human spirits. McLaren on sermon. These three, justice, love, truth, are the three great attributes of the divine nature, aspects of the one perfection which God is. When they meet in our heart, they may be said to take up His abode within us. See Jowett sermons, the subjection of the sun. Okay, and then just a little cap off here, paradise, because we're talking symbolism today. A symbol of the state of blissful consciousness, or either the higher mental plane or the Buddhic plane, in which, in other words, the Buddhic plane is the unfolding, what's unfolding in the great mystery, not in the depth of the Buddha, but in the unfolding of what's hiding right within us. The law being already written on our hearts, knowing right and wrong, knowing, having it already in there, just like the little sporum knew where to go to become a greater light. You see, that little serpent knew where to go, and that was us.
Instinct.
I don't even remember,
Wow. Yeah.
remember having it happen, but you see, and so you see the symbolism in that. Okay, in which, okay, let me try again. A symbol, a paradise, a symbol of the state of blissful consciousness on either the higher mental plane or the Buddhic plane, in which the soul is suffered in wisdom, in which the soul is suffused in wisdom, truth, love, entirely free from the lower nature, entirely free. That's the freedom. It doesn't matter what people do to you anymore, because you know the truth. Paradise, symbolically taken, means wisdom, intelligence, both divine and human, and the proper comprehension of the cause of things. That's Philo, the book of works of Philo, a young. Okay, and one more. To him who overcomes, to him will I give to eat of the tree of life, that is the Spirit, which is in the Paradisia, or the garden of Yahweh, the garden, the symbol, the atom, the true garden. There's two gardens, the lower garden, the higher garden, the atom, the light. It's the great mystery. Who would think about going back to the sun? But of course, that is the great symbol that defines where we come from, the light, the great light. And you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen, what they didn't want you to know. But we tell right here, and isn't that right, NinjaCat?
Yes. Yes, Dezert-Owl. Correct. Very much.
Well, we're all animals. We're all different species then. You're a cat, I'm an owl, right?
Yeah.
And, we're metaphors for sure, okay? And so that just comes to my next statement.
Okay.
Words are not what you think. Words are not what you think, because we all use words, and we think we mean what we say when we meant, but we didn't know we didn't mean what we said when we meant it.
Right, right,
So,
yep. What the owl said, yep.
Quite a way they wove for us. And I found an interesting word yesterday, just as I was getting ready for bed, and it was holler. And I realized the word holler, now most people don't know the H and the L and the R are secret vowels. And so the word holler, H-O-L-L-A-R, which implies why I was like, to shout from the rooftop,
Yeah.
to holler, is made up of all vowels, and vowels are the seeds of life. And so I find it interesting that the word that has to do with the shouting and communicating, shouting, is made up of all vowels, holler, So that's, to me, symbolic, yet there's different things in the word I could play with the anagram, and, there's more in it, to talk about, but just I wanted to share that with you, that there are mystery vowels, 3 of them in particular, the H, the L, and the R, and the word holler is rather interesting, that it's all vowels, and it has to do with speaking, so that's what we're dealing with here in our, presentation, because we're talking about communication as the fundamental of everything we're dealing with, about transcending and about making it out of this world alive, because we start out dead, and the death is spiritual. That's why the scriptures talk about 2 deaths, right? It says that when you go to the grave, that's the second death. So the question is, okay, then what is the first death? It is the spiritual death, and that's more important than the second death. But of course, if you don't rise from this spiritual death, then that second death will be a pretty bad deal, because you're definitely not going home. So, but what Yeshua said was, once we rise from this death through the waters of purification, and then when the Spirit officially raises us, when we receive that Spirit, then it says that death no longer has dominion over us. We die no more. So that even if somebody saw our body go into the grave, the truth is we transcended and are alive and kicking, even though we're spirit. So that's the great mystery. And this is the true analysis, because people can't even give these analyses of the what's going on in the operation of soul novation, because they got instant salvation just with mumbo jumbo a few words, or got that what do they call that thing again? When they paid for it, what do they call that thing?
When they what? Sorry.
They paid their way into heaven. Indulgence.
Indulgence. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew that. Yeah.
But another word that's interesting is, I saw last night in the dictionary, is noble.
Yeah.
And in the Middle English, it said ethylene. Ethylene, ETH. We saw it in the words like in the King James, the saith and speaketh and knoweth.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The ETH. Come to learn through y'all love that it was also in the Anglo-German, had the S on the back of the words, just like the Saxon, Anglo-Saxon German in England. And so the ETH is interesting, that noble is ethylene. Ethylene, E-T-H-E-L-Y-N-G. E-T-H-E-L-Y-N-G, ethylene. And so it made me then get a better picture of the word noble. I never liked the word, because they're always telling us that, it's no bull and they're full of bull, and so it's a real contradiction of terms when they're so full of bull, claiming to be nobles, And but then I saw the original meaning of it, which is far better, because the implication of the word noble is that we're on a higher level, yet we know that it really has more to do with those people with big money. They claim to be nobles because they got the treasure chest full of gold, and they feel so important and everything. But they got the new car, and you've got the bicycle and everything else. But the word noble in its true essence is nova-ul. Nova-ul.
Wow.
There's the word no, because the B is a corruption. In other words, N-O-B-L-E, and it's not nob, like knob on a door, doorknob, but it's the nob, N-O-B. And then the L, the L-E, which is reversed as we see in E-L, is a corruption. The E-L is a corruption for the O-O-L, which is the owl, of course, symbolically. And so noble is correctly in the original thought, brought back correctly in original root form, is the nova-ul. And so it literally means, if I were to call myself a noble, what it meant was I was a new star of enlightenment. And that's sort of like the way these people act, right? Like they know something and you don't, right?
Yeah,
You're better than you.
Yeah.
And,
That's a
because they think
beautiful
they're so
word,
noble.
though. That sounds beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So we can be noble in that sense as a nova, a new star of enlightenment, because that's what you became when you woke up. You became a new star of enlightenment. So you're becoming very noble in the being a noble ool.
Noble ninja. So that's Nova Ul Nunya. There you go.
There you go. Yeah, so you got all kinds of power words in your title now. And
oh yeah.
And so yeah. And so I I was going to share one with everybody. I told you I guess yesterday when you called, and was the fact that I finally got it. I finally got this code word angel. How I've told everyone that the word angel, just like they supplanted Yahweh or Yahweh for Adonai, which literally is India backwards. It means our sunrise, and of course the sunrise is in India first. They're running the world secretly, the ancient Aryan Brahmin priesthood. So as you know, I talk about how it's the Aryan culture that's running our world, and always has been since recorded history, since the Watchers fell, the Vekaresh. Then the Jews put the word Jew in our scriptures when it was Judean or Israel or Hebrew, but never was the word Jew. And the word Jew didn't come along until 1,000 years ago. So how could they be in our scriptures that are 2, 3, 4, 5,000 years old? Give me a break. They took control of publishing. That's how they got in there. And then the word angel, and then it was, when I looked up in the Middle English Dictionary and the Latin Dictionary from 1812, it said see English. The English are the angels, and so I couldn't quite get past that. In other words, okay, but now still, okay. So Anglo implies the English, sure, but it seems to me there was something still missing. And then when I was reading in the dictionary yesterday, and it brought two of these cultures together in the discussion of how the diction changed in England, and it talked about how the Anglo-Saxons who were here prior to the Norman, who are called the Norman Franks, which are the Norsemen who came down to northern France on the coast of the British Channel, and lived there, and so they spoke French. They created their own dialect of French, mixed with some of the Germanic, and so. But then Pierre wasn't calling them the Norman Franks; he was calling them the Anglo-Normans, and it said that for about 200 years, the Anglo-Saxon and Anglo-Norman, just kind of blended together, and then what comes out of it is the next round of what we call Middle English, that evolved to. So we had a predominance of French, but certainly still predominance of the German as well. But then all of a sudden, then I thought of, well, okay, then there's the Anglo-Danish, there's the Anglo-German, and all of a sudden the Anglo, I'm looking at, wait a minute, okay, Anglo-Saxon, Anglo-Norman, and when I saw those two words in the same sentence together, then I got it, because I knew there was such a difference between the Anglo-Norman, Anglo-Saxons. One is the Norseman, one is the German. They're all kind of interconnected down the trail, but the fact that they were separate, all separate cultures, French, English, Norseman, Scandinavian, right? And all of a sudden I saw there it is. Anglo is a code word for Aryan. It's the Aryan Saxon. It's the Aryan Norman. It's the Aryan Danish or the Aryan Dutch and the Aryan German. You see? And what does Anglo mean in the code? One glow. One glow, but if the duck views of corruption, it's one glove. And the hand is a symbol of the glowing light, right? You got the projections of light coming out of your hand as if you were illuminated, and then the one glow or the Anglo, if you read it backwards in the anagram, you get the true the word. You get the word glove, but or how does that work? Let me look at. Okay. Oh no. Okay. The V is the angle. The V is the angle. The A-N-G. And so if you read it backwards, Anglo, and you go lo ang, then you get the true V. And so you can see even your fingers
Yeah.
And so there's the symbol of light in your hand with power, and the V, the symbol of creation of the Virgin, light of the Mother, and they're claiming to be, the Anglo, the one glow. What glow? The fact that they're white, originally blonde hair, blue eyes, what's called the sun gods, the sky gods, the sons of fire. You see, the Anglo. And then just as I was crashing, and I had to write it down, I knew I'd forget it, I saw the anagram of Anglo, and it's Olgan, O-L-G-A-N. In fact, it's almost a complete reversal, just switch out the A and the N. Olgan, and because Ol is the original word for Ol, the D is a corruption, it's Ol. Ol, and again is the prime root of garden. And so literally, Olgan means the old garden. You see, and what is the old garden in the in this Gan, in the symbolism? It is the atom. It is the Eden. That's the old garden, because the new garden is down here, which is really the old garden. It's all a reversal. But you see, they're claiming to come from the Eden. The old garden is the Eden that they fell from, being the sky gods, the sun gods, and the sons of fire, because the Aryan atom came down from the sun, where he was with Yeshua from the beginning, naming all things according to Genesis. Go read the book. It said that he wanted to see what Adam would call everything. It's right there. The scriptures are pretty corrupted, but they still make that statement. So we can see that our scriptures was taken over by three Aryan fronts primarily. The common Hindu with India, Adonai, the Khazarian Jewish banking front, Aryan, German, Germany's, nobody has an idea that all of Western Europe is proliferated with, Aryans that call themselves Germans, and they are Jews. The word German is another code, and literally German means a germ. As you can hear, the word germ means seed. The germ is the seed. It's at the center, and man means creation, and so it literally means one seed or one creation. And so are you getting the picture of a collective working together? One's over here, one's over there. Then you get the angels also put their name in their scriptures, and they're the angels, they're Anglos, and they're the Aryans. They're all three fronts: the Adonai, India, Jews, and angels, Anglos, are all Aryan fronts working each from a different point of direction, coming in from different periods of time.
Wow.
And place.
Wow.
You see that?
Wow.
And they're the ones, therefore, because they hate Yahweh, they hate mankind, and therefore they didn't want the truth to get out. These are the ancient watchers who fell, the Vakeresh, and they then shanghaied and took over our scriptures and put themselves in our scriptures when it was supposed to be Yahweh, and the royal Malachim, angel was Malach. You see what they did? They did a switch out, put themselves in our scriptures, the watchers who fell, and took a blood oath to enslave mankind.
Yep.
Where else do you get this, Ninja?
Wow. They've just mimicked it all and covered it all, and that's mostly what I see, Desert. Like, just them copying and just covering things, and the more I see and the more I listen to your discoveries, the easier it seems. Like they didn't do they've been very thorough, but on the other hand, they didn't do a very good job of it, because all you have to do is pull the cover off and it's all right there. It's all right there.
Well, wait a minute. No, they really, I appreciate your statement, but really they did do a pretty darn good job of it, because, you see, I never would have figured it out. I didn't figure it out. Yeshua revealed it to me. In other words, the only reason that the cat's out of the bag is because Yeshua is my tree of knowledge, and he is the revealer. I'm not smart enough to figure this out. Nobody can figure this out.
Yeah. Okay.
Unless you're an insider or you're the grace of the Father is with you to reveal it to you. You see?
Okay. Well,
Yes? In other words, now
he's
you
helping.
and our wonderful small group of followers,
Yep.
listeners, get the benefit because it was meant to be known. Because we're being lied to, right? Is it right to lie to people and to to corrupt them? Of course not. So Yeshua, this is the antithesis to their thesis. That Yeshua, just like they're the serpent cult, well, he's a serpent too. He's the white serpent. They're the black serpent. And as they've been wiggling down the pike, doing their little tricks and trades and traps, well, Yeshua's been right there with them. And in the end, because he gave them the arrogance and the ego to think they could use their own code and just simply corrupt it, and that would be enough, it was the perfect base to have it uncoded, decoded, you see.
Yeah.
The Aramaic, the Phoenician alphabet, the code is all right there in front of us, but nobody can read it. It's simply a matter of now being able to read it for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's the gift that you've been given. Then I didn't say it very well before. The way you explain it, it just makes it so easy to see the big picture. So, yeah. Thank you for all your hard work, Desert. And I don't know, I'm pretty wordless right now.
Right.
Wow.
Well, actually, it's been quite a journey, and it's been a very painful one. It's really, from the sense of hard work, it's a dedication. But there's nothing more, I don't think, more fun than being, the Indiana Jones of words, because,
yeah.
in other words, there's an axiom, and I knew this truth 40 years ago, that where Nietzsche and Sage once said, you can know the entire universe and never leave your couch. And I know it's an absolute truth, because I could not afford to travel the world and to dig dirt. But the beauty within the esoteric essence of our creation, which is put into communication devices we call words, is that the books have been written. The other researchers did go around the world. The other discoverers. I'm just a byproduct of the other product of what other people have discovered themselves. I'm a collective of the collective.
Yeah.
And so, so I just took notes. I've got 40,000 3x5 cards with notes on them. I've got to pull many of them into a dictionary, and then that people can then look at it alphabetically and really see clearly how the Indo-Germanic is the most significant form of the communication, because it is original. That which is first is superior. That which is first is the most true. But they got everybody stuck in the Hebrew and the Greek, thinking that somehow they're going to find enlightenment by reading the Jewish Hebrew, when that's a bunch of gobbledygook. There's part truth in there. I studied Hebrew at the beginning, but then I got past it because I realized there was a code that was controlled by the priesthood. Just look at those letters. How come there's no O in Hebrew? How come there's no A pyramid symbol in Hebrew? How come there's no letter M? In other words, those code letters that we see in Hebrew don't create the pictures that resonate with our mind, like the Phoenician alphabet that we call Phoenician, which is originally Aramaic. And it's because our Aramaic alphabet are true symbols. The Hebrew are ciphers. They're codes that only the initiated are supposed to know, whereas the Phoenician, what we call the Phoenician alphabet, the Aramaic alphabet, are pictures that are open to everyone. You can look at what we call capital letters and tell the A is a pyramid and a projection of light, right? The first letter of the alphabet.
Yep.
You can tell that the O's got to be a symbol of the sun and moon,
yep,
and therefore even the earth. You can tell that the letter M has a V in the middle of it, and it's held up by two pillars, which are symbolically sun and moon. You can look at the T and know that's the symbol of a tree and a cross. You can look at the N and see in the middle there's a sliding board coming down, and means that it's the nail, the power that came down, the Nile, and it's 2M. It's a split, 2 N's or 1 M. M is split, and then you've got two parts of the V coming down, the divided power. One stick represents one power, another stick represents the other power. The the capital letters in the alphabet are shouting at us, shouting, and that's the reason. That's the first reason that the great mystery of this diction that we're talking about unfolded for me, because I could read the capital letters and just see in their symbolic form the statements that they were making. They were speaking to me, because those symbols were meant to be speaking to you on a higher level, the higher attic level. They are speaking to the subconscious, and therefore, if you can get the picture, that's why they got us on the left side of the brain as a slave.
Yeah, that's why they
you can
changed all the words.
But don't think for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. But when we're on the artistic side of the brain, the right side of the brain, which reacts with colors and images and forms, and is elusive, and free flowing, then those are the independent thinking people. And so therefore, then all of a sudden, the symbol begins to tell you, okay, I see that's a compass. That letter A is a pyramid. It's a compass, and the compass will make a circle at the bottom. So hiding beneath the A is the O, and those are the two primary vowels. And the A, that first A though is a consonant. The second A is the vowel. That's why Aaron has two A's in his name. So all of these things, I'm sharing with everyone, is to help them, to be able to resonate with this potential of interpretation of what's right in front of them every day, because they can be set free. Nobody needs me in order to see and read it for themselves. But yet I'm being used by Yeshua to open the door.
Yeah.
Because it's because we have been tricked and we have been trapped, and we've been traded on the black market of slavery that never wants us to go back home. That's their prime objective. So once you get the rhythm, the algorithm of what this is about, and you make your connection with your Redeemer, who is the tree of knowledge, who leads you to the tree of life, then you can be set free from the false doctrines, and realize that very few people are going to make this journey, because the deception is so fantastic and so profound that it's a rare event to be set free from it. Right?
Right. Wow. I was just thinking while you were speaking. I can see everything that you're describing. I can I love original thought. I love the words. I'm still such a newbie at this, but even when I read regular words, some of them look really weird. Like I'm almost dyslexic now. Yeah.
Because they're spelling all the words wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. They just look weird. Like I know they're words that I've been reading all my life, and they've been spelt that way all my life, and they suddenly look foreign and weird.
Yeah.
And that's
fact,
amazing.
English is the greatest form of Pig Latin there ever was. It's the most corrupt form of communication perhaps there ever was, and they want to make it the international form. That's why they worked overtime to do that, and that's why foreigners, say English is the hardest to learn how to speak, because none of it makes any sense, and many letters have multiple sounds. And then there's these oddballs they throw in there as well, like the Q, and what have you. J used to be an I, and all this other stuff. So like the capital L, the capital L we can see is a foot. So just like the word hell, hall, hole, hill, all of these words you can tell are places, right? The hole in the ground, the hell, the grave, the hill that you climb, all of these places are places you go to, and therefore you can see the two L's. That's why they get two L's, because they represent two legs walking, right? The capital L has a foot, right?
Yeah. Wow.
And but the small L without the foot also represents the obelisk.
Yeah.
He represents the symbol of light, creation. So we are the creation. So just like the L represents us in the symbol of creation, because we are a creation, it also represents the one who made all things. And the reason it represents him is because in the true spirituality, they said, the great one, the great spirit who made all things has no form. Has no form, because he is spirit, and therefore, or pure energy, or however we want to define that. And so therefore, we cannot make an image of him, and so therefore they made the straight line being him, and the symbol, the only symbol that could truly represent him, whereas all these other cultures then tried to make other images, like we see the most pathetic of them all in India, of course, like the elephant, or like, the monkey, or whatever images they use, the cow, the bull, all these things to represent some form of deity.
Yeah.
But the true original in the occultic is the straight line, because that's the only thing they said could really truly represent him. But yet the circle might be more appropriate, though, actually, because the circle represents infinity. The circle has no beginning, has no end. It's continually going around, spinning, and so that probably is the most correct symbol that's hiding under the A. Just a few more words. The etymon is, because you always refer to the Etymological dictionary, and so for anybody who's still confused about that, etymon is Greek, and it means the true sense.
Okay,
And,
I never knew that.
And logo is Greek, and it means the study of word, and therefore the original word is a-shavor. A-shavor, in the beginning, it was not the word. In the beginning, was not the logo. In the original, it was the a-shavor. The a-shavor, and it means the royal center. It also, then we see the word that the A is a consonant. Then a-shavor becomes shavor for sword, shavor for shower, shavor for sower of the seed, shavor for savior. So all those words, savior, shower, sower, are all in the original word for word, which is a-shavor. The A is the beginning of everything. It's the beginning of creation. Etymologia is Greek for the study of the true sense of a word and origin. And etymology, Old French. Etymology is the facts of the origin and development of a word. Thus, we have etymology. So that's a word I thought that was important. When like if you go back into original words, because just like the word word is a watered down version of a-shavor,
Yeah.
which is so powerful. The same with where Yeshua said, "My Father works, and therefore I work as well." But the word he probably would use, we find in the Hebrew, which was the corrupted form is mitzvah, but correctly spelled M-A-Y-T-Z-V-A-T. So more correctly pronounced mitzvah. And so what we have in that word is May, for the beauty of creation. May time, we love the May, not you down there because you're in a different hemisphere, but up here, May time, May is the best time of year because springtime is blossoming, and the serpent, the vat is the serpent, so the mitzvah, as you can look at plant life and see how the plant and the seedling grow and pop up and spin, all of life is spinning in creation, and in the Maytime, all the beautiful nature, it's like the perfect garden, comes out, and so the mitzvah implies the perfect works of creation. And so what Yeshua was saying when I work and my Father works, that I must perform mitzvah, and my Father performs mitzvah. What he was saying was the works and the power of the perfect serpent. We perform the works and the power of the perfect serpent. So you see, the corrupt serpent is the one that pulls us down, and therefore, in other words, our body is not evil. Our body is not evil, and therefore, even though it's the serpent, it can have a dual nature, right? So it can be either the dark serpent or the light serpent. And so therefore it's simply taming the serpent, right? Like you can have a horse and you can't ride the horse because the horse is going to buck you off all the time. But you can tame the horse, and then after you tame the horse, you can ride it, and the horse becomes your friend, right? The horse don't want nothing to do with you. You think that horse wants you on its back, kicking him around, right? Of course not. But you can tame him. You can make him your friend. And so that's basically the best example I think I've ever given on.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah. Because see, in other words, it's a tool. our body is an instrument that serves us in our experience of consciousness, so that we can have an experience and make a choice. We were given, when we came here, nobody asked me to come here. If you would have asked me, I wouldn't want to come here, okay? No, thank you. But I ended up here somehow in the great mystery. And so it's coming down to terms of having to tame the serpent and to discipline and to walk correctly so that we can walk on water and transcend this world. And so that's why, we also need each other in the big picture, because as Yeshua went around trying to save his brothers and sisters, and then Nicodemus comes over to him and he says, tell Yeshua, when he went to Peter and then he went to talk to him directly, he says, you need to leave this area because, Herod wants to kill you. And he says, go tell that fox, today and tomorrow I'm learning to be a sacrifice. And after three days, I will be perfected. You see? So even Yeshua, even though we know he was perfect from day one and never closed his eyes, he claimed in his own humility that he was not yet perfect.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm still to be a sacrifice. And after 3 days, meaning when he rose from the dead, I will be perfected. And so you see, that's the great mystery of our own walk. We can't save ourselves without putting into effect our attempt to save others. If we're not trying to save others and help them, then we're not going anywhere either. How can you have the knowledge of truth and then you're going to sit on it and bury it under a rock? He said you're condemned for that, right?
Yeah. Wow.
So you're participating. You're doing a great work, Ninja, doing it, and at the same time you're continually to learn and to grow. I've seen how you went from being very persecuted and being affected by it with the electronic and all that other stuff going on in your life, and targeted in different ways. And now I've noticed you're very smooth and very disciplined, and you're doing a great job as a radio host here on this program, actually.
Oh, thank you. I'm slowly learning to dismiss the targeting. It's just, I don't care. Yeah. I don't care about it anymore. Yeah. It's annoying. It's very annoying, but I just don't care.
And just like I was very introverted, you didn't even want to talk to me.
Yeah, I couldn't even, I was the same. Like my life wasn't as extreme as yours, but I went down, let's say, a milder, similar path, Desert, because I got to the point, and I know it was all from the targeting, and I got to the point where I've always been, I'm an introvert. I've always been shy. I haven't been good in crowds, ever. I've always been different, thought different. But I got to the point where I stopped speaking. I stopped communicating. I was nothing. I was just, all I was empty. I was empty inside. I was completely in the empty void of fake darkness, Desert. Yeah, I'd completely stopped speaking, stopped communicating, and it wasn't until this year, it wasn't until last year, wasn't until the beginning of 2018 that I now know it was Yeshua that gave me the courage to jump onto YouTube, and it's the best thing I have ever done.
For social activity and coming to a greater awareness of things, right?
Just in finding truth and realizing that like when I was given the courage to start uploading videos, I didn't even know what to call this what I suddenly realized was very real. It's something greater than this world that was helping me and giving me peace and strength. I didn't know a name to call this, and it wasn't until your streams I could give this energy a name. And then it just got so much more powerful. Like I my first live phone call, oh no, actually my first live phone call was with Turtle, but I had no words. I was always giggling and I didn't have any words. I was still very shy, but my first real conversation was with you on that live stream. That's why I call your program so often, to try and encourage others to do so, because it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life. Going from not speaking and hating this world and not wanting to be around anybody at all. Yeah.
And then talking about yourself.
Yeah, yes.
And that's a hard thing to do.
Yes, sure. Yes. And, yeah, now I'm doing live streams with, I say it again, the code breaker, who is an owl. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. It's just totally amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you never know what's around the corner, and life is full of mysteries and surprises. I hate surprises. You know, after all I've been through,
yes, so do I.
Yeah.
I love them and I hate them. Yep.
But anyway, so perhaps we should cap off with the most important word under the sun. This may be a good way to cap off things, because you know, the thing about we've had a word in front of our face all of our lives and never got the picture, and it is that word Asia. We saw it on the map. They put on there Asia Minor and the big Asia, and yet we think it has to do with the continent or the landmass, and actually it had nothing to do with the continent or the landmass. It was one of the highest words that has been given to us in the original Indo-Germanic mother tongue, and it is the word Asia. And so Asia, and as I've defined it here before, represents the word Asia itself, two words. The A is the I, and the Sha is the royal. Asia. And it is feminine. It is the original word for woman, which is the Isa, or the Isha, more correctly would be SH, Isha, which is the corrupted form, because Isha and Isa and Ish, and also synonymous with the Maitar Egyptian Isis, same word, just as another culture, and we see it in the other cultures as well, but it is correctly Aisha. That's the original word. The A is the first letter, represents symbol of creation, and the SH, the S is the serpent, the H is the breath, and the A is the feminine, or the duality. So when you have the A on both sides, there's your duality, because there's two A's. One is male, one is female, one is silent, one is speaking, but it's pronounced Aisha. We got a long A and a soft A. So representing two different sounds, two different functions. And the first A, of course, is the male, because the male came first. That's why it's bigger. And then the Aisha, the female. Because in other words, in regard to Yeshua, with the first atom, he was the Ish. And the Ish didn't have the A on it, then it was Isha. Isha, when the woman came, when Adam woke up, and then he sees the woman in front of him, and he says, you know, you are the Itza. It said it in, you know, the Septuagint, Itza, but of course it is the Aisha. And so where it says in our modern, you are the mother of all living, you will be called woman. Well, he didn't call her woman. Obviously, that's modern English. But he says that you are the Aisha Fei. You are the mother of all living. You are the Aisha Fei. And what is the Aisha Fei? The Aisha Fei is the light that shines, the mother star, the light of creation that is shining down. So because think of it again, she's the last one that comes on the scene. He wakes up and he sees her after all the other creation is here. He's already named everything while he was in the Eden, before he came down to the lower garden. And then he says, you are the mother of all living. You will be called the Aisha Fei. And so the Aisha Fei, the royal eye, what is the royal eye? The royal eye obviously is the sun. Even the occult call it the all-seeing eye, right? That's why they got the sun at the top of the pyramid on the back of the see it right there on the $1 bill above the pyramid, and it is the I is in there. You are the royal I. You are the H of Fae, the Fae, PH, symbol of creation. Then the AY is the component of the original word for I again. AY, not EYE, but AY, or maybe AYA, but primarily AY, pronounced A. The A is your I, and it's the symbol of your I. It's the word for your I, the AY, and you can see the light projection in the letter Y coming down, the light coming down. There's your obelisk. There's the letter L coming down below the V and the letter Y. The light spinning. Imagine that obelisk or that tail on the Y or the V, just disengaging and then coming down and spinning. There's your philthought. There's your light particle spinning down to Earth, creating that swastika that they ultimately put on a flag. And so the Aisha Fae. The Aisha Fae is the Fae is therefore the original word for the mother of creation, P-H-A-Y, meaning what? The eye of creation, Fae. The eye of creation, P-H for creation, A-Y for eye. The eye of creation, so not only is it the royal eye, but it is the eye of creation. What does that mean, the eye of creation? It means the center of creation, that everything came out from the light, came out from the sun, and created a solar system. Oh, wow. Solar system. Well, that defies all the flat earth theories, doesn't it? You can't have it both ways, you know? I'm always amazed, okay, you're down in the southern hemisphere.
Yeah.
How come it's cold down there, or hot down there, and it's cold up here, Ninja? Does that sound like a flat earth to you?
No, not really. No, considering...
if it's hot down there...
Yeah, the only way they'll be able to do that with a flat earth would be to raise the sun up higher so that it's colder here in this
but they're saying that
part
the sun is nothing but a basketball.
Yeah.
They're saying it's this little round dot. In other words, it's a phony creation. And you see how none of it makes any sense? But if you look at the navigation, how they navigate by the stars and all this other stuff,
yeah.
You can blow them out of the water with just a couple little points like that, because how did if the planisphere is a flat pancake, how come the middle is super cold, what they call the North Pole?
Yeah.
And the outer ring is super cold, what they call the South Pole. But in the middle, then you go warm. None of it.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It always blows my mind that
typically
they also follow the King James and can't read any other book either. But anyway, to move on here, I do want to belabor that.
Oh, and our water spins different direction to northern hemisphere. I don't know. I can't remember what it is, but it's anti-clockwise and clockwise. Yeah, I don't know which way ours goes, but it's different.
Well, the truth is, it's all heating up now. That's the real sad part. It's all heating up. But by the way, Higher Truth channel is back on. They're on another channel. I don't remember the last name, but if you look up Higher Truth,
yep.
And you'll see the logo again. The logo is still there, so you'll be able to recognize them. But it's Higher Truth something, and if I think of it in a minute, I'll give it to you. But Aisha. So the point of the word Aisha, then, I want to give a definition of it because I found it actually, by doing a little legwork here. And so, of course, we see in there it's the word for the sun, and it's the word for the face, because we find it in the word fascia as the fascia board, and it means protection, because the fascia board is to protect. And so the sun, as you heard me refer to it as the pure shelter, is the shelter of our protection. Without the sun, we're dead, right?
Right.
So give me a break. So the sun is everything to us. The light, everything generates off of the power of the sun in one way or another. And so literally, Aisha, the royal eye, is therefore the medium or receptacle for everything. It is what keeps everything active on our planet. The sun creates the wind. The sun affects the moon. The moon affects the ocean currents. By pulling on the ocean, the waves. All of them are interacting in a great ballet and a play. It's the Higher Truth rises. Okay, they cut off this great guy's channel after they've tried to kill him several times, and he deserves our support. So go back and look for him. The Higher Truth channel is Higher Truth Rises.
Higher Truth Rises. 3 separate words.
Logo,
I'm going to type it in the chat. That's all.
amazed to find out how many lookalikes are calling themselves Higher Truth. All the disinformation
I've seen it.
campaign is out.
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy's a genius. So continuing on in the fascia, and the word fascia, you see, I never knew, where the word fasciae came from until I discovered the word asha. When I discovered that in the beginning is not the word, but it is the asha vor, then the word asha became relevant in everything from asha re'el or asha re'ul to the names of the family line of Abraham Hain. His wife was Asha Ray, and there's his wife. Oh, well, that means then it's the son, because Abraham Hain represented the spirit, and therefore the son represented his wife, and therefore the son is the wife of Yahweh. It is the woman that is bringing forth the baby of creation. Can you see that, Ninja?
Yes, I can see that, Desert. I can see it.
You see? Yeah. And so the family line passed through the woman as if it were a matriarchy. And so Asha, not Sarai, but Asha Ray, then tells her husband have the baby with the slave, but yet it was supposed to be by promise and not by the works of the flesh. And so he has Ishmael, who's really Asha Ma'ul, but yet then he said, no, you're going to have the baby with Asha Ray. And so when she's 90 years old, she has a baby, and they call him then Isaac, and that would be Asha Yak. The corruption, they corrupted these words, they destroyed them. It is Asha Yak, meaning he has the power of the sun, the Yak, primary suffix for Moshiach, and then the next one coming down is Esau, but he was the firstborn, wasn't qualified. Esau would have been Asha Yal, meaning the Asha that goes round, again the symbol of the sun, and then so it goes to Yaakov, and then he gets the title when he's coming back to Gamun, to Canaan's land, to take his inheritance. He gets the title Asha Re'ul, and then from Asha Re'ul, because Reuben, the firstborn, violated his father's bed, doesn't get the title, and because Yaakov was a navigator and he could see all things, he already knew intuitively to make the one from the woman that he wanted, the Rachel. He names his first son with Rachel, Joseph, which is Bolesha Fe. Bolesha Fe, here's the word Asha, and then from there it goes into his firstborn, which is Mun Asha, not Manasseh, but Mun Asha. There's a tail end on that, and I'm doing this off the top of my head without, looking at my notes. But Munesha is Manasseh in the simple form, and it may be Munesha Fe. But that's where the Asha then drops off. So you can see it went down from 1, 2, 3, 4 generations straight on down. The word Asha was preserved, and then what was blowing my mind after I had discovered all of this, all of this came over the last several months. Then when I was just taking some preliminary notes, and I got for my transliteration of Genesis, and then of course of the New Testament, some of the books there. Then I got inspired, and I just decided to decode the word Genesis and back engineer it based on the original root forms, knowing that it was a code for something from an original. At least I speculated that. I was inspired. And I just started writing down the correct form, and Genesis became Ganesha. I couldn't believe it, because I knew Sis as an Isis and as an Isha, and all these corrupt forms, even ES by itself and SS by itself, like the SS Stormtroopers. All of that is the Asha. It all goes back to the sun. That's why on the Nazi flag it was the symbol of the sun. The SS then symbols the symbol of the sun. That's called the blitzkrieg, right? The SS wrote on the blitzkrieg, meaning the fire of the sun. And so Ganesha. So when I heard that, then Yalov told me that Ganesha is the elephant goddess of wisdom from Hinduism, and I didn't know that. I saw those pictures of that funny-looking elephant dressed in flowers. I always thought that was pretty pathetic looking. And come to find out, and I knew the elephant though was the symbol of the sun.
Yeah,
I did know that, and that's why people saw that on the channel with that big elephant with the swastika on the side, because I wanted them to get the picture of the symbolism that which is biggest, had the swastika on it because it represented the light particles spinning down from the sun, and that's the fan. That is the fan that is generating the light particles that flow in the sharp fan, the original prime root for the word of the sun, the sharp fan, where you hear the word sharpen and surfin and shark fin. All those words are in there. And so the elephant goddess of wisdom, the Ganesha, then represents the sun. So in other words, what literally Genesis means is the Garden of Asia, or the story of Asia, or the Garden of the Royal Eye. So you see, so this is what what I'm presenting when I said that Aisha Ray is her original name, and then she had Aisha Ma'ul and Aisha Yak, and then they had Aisha Yal, and then Aisha Rayal, and then Menashe. All these words. See, it is indeed, Genesis is indeed the story of Aisha, and therefore it is the story of light and of the royal family of light that came down in the pure Aryan line, not the fallen watchers who took over our scriptures and put their phony names in it, Adonai, which is India backwards, and Jew, which never is not Judah and is not Israel, Israel, nor Hebrew, but they and then angel, which is Anglo for Aryan. They put the watchers, the fallen ones who wanted to betray their birthright, supplemented our scriptures, destroyed them, put their words in it, but still, nonetheless, I discovered in the word Genesis the code, Ganesha, which means the story of Aisha, which is the royal family Abraham Haim and his wife Aisha Ray, and what happened to them. The greatest story of all stories on the planet, the biggest story ever told, that brings us the Mashiach, the first Atom, the one who made all things and came down to save mankind after he instituted it from the beginning. Always planned on saving us. It was the plan from the beginning because he had to make us in a lower creation first so that we could then make a choice and come up to the higher creation. And that's the story right here, ladies and gentlemen, on the Forbidden History Chronicles with NinjaCat. What they didn't want you to know, but we tell right here. Did we leave any stone unturned? Ninja?
Wow. I think all stones have been turned. Wow. That was amazing.
Big story.
That was amazing. I could tell when you first started talking about Aisha, I could tell your energy changed. I could tell that you knew that you were really onto something, and wow, look what's happened now, does it?
This is the great lie. In other words, on top of the fact now who's running the world secretly, being the Aryan faction, that is the line of Adam.
Yeah.
But then word Asia itself being a royal title that describes the sun, and they claim to be the Fasce. They are put, we're like in Washington D.C. on both sides of the speaker's podium in the Capitol. They got a picture of what they call the Fasci, and it is the fascia. And what does fascia mean? Like I said, it means to protect, and that's their baby now. They captured it, and the axe, the battle axe, the berserker battle axe in the middle is the symbol of the sun, the axe that shines. In other words, what cuts? What cuts is the light, right? The light can give light and it can destroy. So in symbolic terms, the axe is the sun, but they took over the axe, they wrapped it in black ebony rods, and it's called the fasci, and it was what was used by the mariner and the explorers. The explorers had their fasci backpack on them with an axe, with a shovel, and with the ebony rods or whatever, their flint and steel, to make a fire. All the little essentials they needed was in their fasci little bundle, and so there's more to the story. I don't know, all of the missing elements in this story, but the pieces keep coming little by little. But the fasci is the fascia, and it represents the sun, and it means to protect. That's what the shelter is in the sun, the light. In other words, when we go back to embrace and our truth, and we find our soul navigator or savior, soul navigator, to bring us back home to the truth, we find he is our protector and our defender, like you heard about my story today, how I was delivered by mean men, by good men within a bad organization.
Yep.
And so I knew all along Yeshua was my protector and defender, and I'd rather put my trust in him and take what comes than to go agree with a bunch of criminals who already showed me what they're all about.
Yeah.
You know, woe unto the man who puts his trust in man, because he's moved away from the Lord. That's the corrupt version in Jeremiah. But we have to see the light, and we have to get the picture, and we have to know who we are, where we are, and when we are in this great epic of mankind, because we are not of this world, and that is the good news for January 1st, 2019, in the grand illusion that they want you to buy into, ladies and gentlemen. Ninja, back to you.
January 2nd here in Oz. Yeah.
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 All an illusion. Day without end.
Yep.
No beginning, no end in the reality.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I can't wrap my mind around no beginning. I think that is one of the hard things for us to wrap our minds around.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, how does something not have a beginning and not have an end? How?
I can appreciate continuation going on, but but he has no beginning, and that's the great mystery.
Yeah.
That maybe until we transcend, we'll never know how that works, because we have a beginning, we have an end in our physical, and as it says, that which has a beginning has an end, and so we should see the handwriting on the wall. These people are here playing their little games with everybody, having their party, and their little tricks and traps, and they don't get that they're on a time clock, and their days are numbered, and their game is going to be over soon. And you see, they're deceiving themselves first. Their biggest deception is against their own nature, against their own being.
Yeah.
They have played the game on us, but the ultimate game is on them, because we can be set free. I'm grateful for the fire. I'm grateful for the persecution. I'm grateful for the deception and the threats, like being right now surrounded by Freemasons that have been playing games on me for 4.5 years here in Millersburg, Ohio, while they polish their tin badges and put on their little loincloth of Freemasonry. I'm so grateful for them, because they've compelled me to go further than I would have ever gone before. Thank you very much.
Well.
The fire is good.
Yeah.
We need the fire.
Yeah.
It defines who we are.
Yeah.
In reality.
Yeah. You made me think, if we're like, not if, we're all part of the light, and that would mean that we had no beginning, wouldn't it? Would that mean that we...
Spirit. You're right. We're talking about our spirit now, not the flesh.
Yeah. Yeah.
We come from the eternal. We come from the eternal God.
Yeah, so, well, that would mean that we had no beginning and we have no end. So, and that's just even more mind-boggling to me.
Absolutely. Yeah, so now when we come from the infinite, we have two natures. That's what I was saying. We have a spirit, the a-spirit, and then we have the, and see the word sphere in the word a-spirit, which is more original for spirit, a-spirit. You see the word sphere, and a sphere is that which goes round in the circle, and a round circle has no beginning, implying that it is eternal, you see. And the nail is that which came down, the eternal, you see, is the nail is that which came down from the turn, from the infinite. We came down. It's all in the Yeshua words. That's what's so beautiful about restructuring these words back to the original, because all they do is blossom into that original thought of that original truth, and they do not lie. The words are there already. We just have to put them back together correctly.
Yeah. Loving it, Desert. Absolutely loving it.